As always, we've each got 5 or more records that we're going to have a great time talking about. I think it's going to be some good picks tonight. Is everyone ready? Should we get going?
Yeah, we're ready.
There's no one watching. There's no one watching. It's weird. Like,
yeah. So it's kind of like, like a tree falling in the woods or whatever.
No one's gonna hear.
If you talk about records on YouTube and no one's watching, is it even happening? Kind of thing.
Oh, here we go. Sometimes it takes a while for like the system to update, catch up.
That's why we fight the system.
Exactly. Exactly.
Always something wrong with the fucked up fucking system.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Bloody technology restream. All right. Yeah. Let's get going. There you go. Tree reporting for duty. There you go. Hi, Daniel. How you doing? All right, post-punk. We've talked quite a bit about like post-punk on this show over the years it is now, right? So both old and like current post-punk. There's a lot of like modern post-punk around these days, but I'm going to go back to like the OG, like the early 80s, the originators of post-punk. Yes,
right.
One of the like first wave, one of the great bands of the, I want to say like the first wave of like post-punk. German band, Hamburg, all-girl band. One of my personal favorites, and this record is like, it's old stuff, but it's just come out, and I think a lot of people are quite excited and pleased about this record. Talking about Xmal.
Oh.
Xmal Deutschland.
I saw something about that, but yeah.
I think Jordan was just listening.
Yeah, he posted something about it.
Yeah. Like, a lot of people have been like buying this record. It's quite a striking looking record.
Yeah, I like the cover.
It's great, right? It's pretty killer. Yeah. But this is actually like the cover of their like first single. It's not like a new thing. It's like it's just the cover of their first single, right? So this is like super short. It's like 23 minutes, 24 minutes, something like that. Yeah. But you know what? I'm kind of happy with that because it's like all you get is like the first 2 singles, right? When they were on like Zigzag Records, before they signed to 4AD.
Oh,
okay. It's like a tidy little, like a nice like summary of their really early career, and I kind of like that. It's like that it's just only their like independent stuff, like Zigzag.
I mean, to be honest, I think sometimes when and I mean I get it, like you want completeness and shit, but like when they're like, okay, it's like 3 hours of fucking demos and all this stuff. It's like that's cool, but like sometimes it's just like I just want to hear like the stuff that is good, and I don't need to hear all the rehearsal stuff and all that.
Right. They could have probably done that. There's an extra track, a bonus track, which is from a compilation album that came out at the same time.
See, that works, I mean,
and it fits because it's probably from the same sessions, and it kind of fits like right in with these recordings. I actually looked that compilation up because I'd never heard of it before. Right. It's called, here we go, Lieber zu viel als zu wenig.
Oh yeah, Lieber zu... No, yeah. I hadn't heard it. Right on.
It was funny because I looked it up, and of course, like Xmal Deutschland have the song Kalbermarsch on that comp, but also like Einstürzende Neubauten on that record.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. And then the Abwort.
That's another band that I can't pronounce the name.
I'm digging a bit of a hole for myself. And a bunch of German bands that I hadn't heard of, but the Abwarts. Didn't you wear an Abwarts t-shirt like the first time you came on? Like they're on that comp too, like with Xmal Deutschland, which I thought they're more of a punk band, right? Like
their first album was like real wiry, and then the second was more post-punk, and then I lost track after that. At some point they turned into like a skate punk band or something in the 90s. I've only
what were they called?
For me is kind of my cutoff.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that like they were on that comp, and then Einstürzende Neubauten were on that comp, and Xmal Deutschland were on that comp. I'd kind of like to check out some of the other bands, but if anyone's not familiar with Xmal Deutschland, it's like, that first wave. And you know what? I don't want to do this, but like comparisons to Susie and the Banshees are kind of inevitable when you talk about this band. Mm-hmm. But I think they definitely have their own thing going on. That they were definitely influenced by Susie and the Banshees, I assume. But I think Anja Huwe, the vocalist, she's got a really great voice, and it's more like punk punk than Susan the Banshees. It's like
It's
a
not
little
as
bit,
like haunting kind of shit. It's like more.
and there's like no like 60s influence in there at all. It's all very stark and cold and dark and mechanical, and one of the great bands from this era. So
it's more harsh than I thought it was going to be, because I'm kind of like Jordan, where I know the band's name forever, but that's the only thing I've ever actually heard. Like, I got the email from Sacred Bone saying, hey, we're re-releasing this. I'm like, all right, I'll click on it, check it out. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I wanted to do an order with them anyway for something else. Like, I'll add it on. And then that record, the limited version's already selling for like $100 a month later. So
what, the color vinyl version?
Yeah, I think I have the magenta or pink or something.
Yeah, I think this is. Yeah, I got.
Are there like 20 colors of vinyl and stuff?
Only two. I think like black and then the magenta. Black. They could have done that, right? Like different.
Yeah,
they should have done it for like each hair color. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, I was not expecting it to be that short either. Like, I sat down to read and it's like, oh shit, okay, I guess I can plug in already.
Yeah, it's like, was it 8 songs, right? Just like first 2 singles songs, and then like that one compilation track. So yeah, from 81, 82. Yeah, it's like you said, it's like harsher, like more harder hitting than you might expect. It's almost like it could be on Crass Records, kind of like anarcho punk.
Yeah, I always thought they were more of a goth band. Like, everyone I knew that was into them and like all the kind of imagery I'd seen, I thought they were just a straight up regular old goth band.
I guess when they signed to 4AD, they kind of did get like a bit more commercial, right? When they signed to 4AD, but even those like 4AD records are really, really good. You know, like the first 2 albums on 4AD are really, really good too. But
yeah, that definitely made me want to check out more. Like, that's one of those holes that now I have at least plugged a little bit. But
definitely get like Fetish and Toxin, like the first 2 LPs on 4AD. They're both really good.
Yeah. Okay.
Matthias, you a fan?
Yeah, a little bit. I have a passing familiarity with them,
right.
But like they're the kind of band that like I probably jumped over as I moved into kind of the more common stuff, you know, like the Sound or Magazine or whatever. Right. So like by the time I would have missed a lot. I have a couple of their albums, but I haven't really paid a ton of attention to them over the years. Yeah,
I think they do get a bit lost in the shuffle sometimes, but like to me, they're one of the top tier bands from that era. But and you know, this came out on like Sacred Bones, right? And the funny thing was, on exactly the same day, they released a record that kind of ties in nicely with this one. I'm not going to really go into this too much, but for people who are into Xmal Deutschland, they might be interested to know that the vocalist Anja Huwe put out her first like solo record. Okay. You know, in this year, it's pretty crazy. Like after all these years, she put out her first solo record, and it's good. I mean, it's got like touches of Xmal Deutschland in there, but there's a lot of like modern stuff that you might find on like Sacred Bones in there too, like some electronic stuff, and it's a pretty strong record. So if you're a Xmal Deutschland fan and you want to dig even deeper, here you go.
And there you go.
That one did not get added to the card after listening to the preview track.
The first song is really quiet. I don't know if the preview track was the first song. It starts off real slow.
I don't think I listened to the whole song. I was like, okay, that's what it sounds like. All right.
There you go. But it kind of picks up, and the guitarist is the same guitarist from Xmal Deutschland. Manuela Rickus, it's the same guitarist, and she kind of lets loose a bit on this album. It's pretty heavy.
Soloing. She's soloing and shit.
Yes, yeah. Randy Rhodes.
Yeah, right. You got the flying beat.
Yeah, it's a bit like Gordy from Killing Joke, you know, when he kind of lets loose. I got one more. It's Peel Sessions. We've talked about Peel Sessions a lot, right? So obviously, this is also one of the.
Oh yeah.
It's a real classic Peel session from like '85. So that's it. That's my first pick. Xmal Deutschland.
Nice.
First wave.
Ooh.
Hey Pam, how you doing? There you go. Oh, what did I do? There you go. Oi. Okay. All right. Matthias, what's your first pick?
All right. This was a super late entry for me. It actually just arrived in the last day or two. But it's old. It's older material. 1990. Discord adjacent sort of stuff.
Ooh.
First exposure to this band would have been on Martine's Built
for Blood.
Blood.
Yep.
Double was that a double LP?
Yeah, Built for Blood.
Yeah, on that was what the fuck.
Sorry, Built on Blood, not
Built on Blood, and that was what the fuck, like number 2, right? The second before he switched labels, right? Yeah.
Right.
Actually contains a photo from 1990 Martine in this record, but it's the 1990 demos and of Circus Lupus, which also includes the first 7-inch that was on Cubis Productions, and the track from the Built on Blood comp.
Yeah.
This just came out on LG Records, which has been doing a bunch of like kind of cool reissues. They just did a Vile Cherubs LP, and they did the Young Gins LP, as well as the Fury, and I think
right. Yeah.
Los Mordidas, which is the other Chris Thompson band. So it's I mean, the quality on these records is crazy. They're all the tipped in jackets and everything's thick as hell, and it's got a cool photo from Martine on the inside from 1990 Chicago. Sounds great, remixed, remastered by Tim Green recently. So they did a real nice job kind of piecing this back together and getting it back out on vinyl. Like prior to that, I think the 2 songs that are on the Cubis 7-inch, the Tightrope Walker and Chinese Nitro, I think sound a lot better on here. So kind of cool. I'm a big Circus Lupus, like one of my old bands. Our first show ever was Circus Lupus and Jawbox, so kind of cool. I think we went back to my house and watched Brazil or something. Brazil. But yeah, great kind of addition to like fill in the gaps for the Discord heads out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I saw because it's that Andy Coronado dude.
Coronado,
yeah, like I saw, I think recently or whatever that he put that out. And he put out a bunch of like other records and shit too. So that's cool.
I ordered all 3 of those reissues, or all 3 of the new LG records from Discord Direct. There's also graphic assistance by David Yao. So not really sure what he did on it, but cool.
He assisted with it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's probably like, I don't know, put the logo there. I don't know.
Right. So yeah. So
and
cool,
so in the comments, someone said it's LP and the Built on Blood was LP and a 7-inch.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was more
correct
because it had that spray painted poly jacket, right? Yeah, I still have that. So so cool record. Popped that on a few times today. Haven't even gotten to the other 2 yet, but
I think that band's a blind spot for me. Like I have been going back and like getting like the Discord era that I kind of missed out on in real time. Like I guess Red Hair was like the first one.
Red Hair is awesome.
That kind of blew me away a little bit because I really, really liked it.
Well, I love Swizz, so it's kind of like like Red Hair and like Sweet Belly Freaked Out did afterwards and shit. I thought were really cool.
That song, I think it's on their second LP, The Distractor. It's real short. Starts with that like cartoon sample. That song is fucking amazing, but like it only repeats each part once and then ends, and you're like, Yeah, and then Sweet Belly Freakdown's kind of right in between those two, and a very similar vibe. Police of the Action Figures.
Is that the same time period as the Circus Lupus records? Like,
no, I think Circus Lupus was before. Like Sweet Belly Freakdown was kind of like late 90s. And then Red Hair was more recent or whatever. And I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but it would be cool. Like it's it would be cool to see them if they, I think someone was saying something about trying to get them to play in Chicago, and it never happened. So I don't know if they're still playing or not. But Sweet Belly Freakdown in Chicago though.
This is in 1990. I think they started off in like Madison, Wisconsin, maybe when like Chris was at college, and then the whole band moved back to DC at some point. I think they probably lasted through like 93 or 4 at the most.
Yeah.
But this recording, like all the songs that did later make it onto either I think Super Genius or their first LP, are much rawer and you know, like
Ah.
I don't know, just kind of more sharp and pointed than the final recordings. This was still done at, I think, in her ear with maybe Eli Janney, if I want to say. But the songs that they ended up recording, they're definitely like rawer versions on here, which is kind of, and like you can see like I don't know, like I can't imagine you ever sing the same song, you know, saying it the same twice, you know, because like the lyrics are different and the way the delivery is different on some of the stuff. So,
but yeah, Chris Thompson's been in a lot of like, you know, great shit or whatever, and that Fury. If people haven't gotten that Fury, buy that 12-inch if you don't have the 7-inch or whatever. That's fucking great. And also Matt put out that Coven Pricks record, which is really good.
Yeah.
And that was a band that was doing here with Jeff Rice and, you know, and some other people. So, yeah, like, you know, but yeah,
just to get past the we only released that Washington bands policy.
Well,
what's that?
Did Circus Lupus, did they move to DC just to circumvent
he's from DC, so probably had more of a pass on that. You know, it's like, you know, he was in Ignition and he was in some other bands. I don't fucking remember. But yeah, so it's like he's been in a lot of cool shit. So,
you know, like something I picked up recently that it's weird. I've never owned it on vinyl before, and it's like one of my like favorite Discord records. Is like the Grey Matter, like Take It Back.
Yeah.
It was really nice to finally have that on vinyl, like after all these years. It was actually going to be one of my picks tonight, but I kind of substituted it.
I think I commented on one of your posts that that's one of my top 5 Discord.
It's amazing, right?
That's the 12-inch though, like not the LP. So no, that one's great. Like the LP is cool, but like the 12-inch is fucking awesome.
Every song on there is so good.
Yeah,
I love that. I kind of like the whole width of Grey Matter, even like Fog and all this later stuff, but that record is pinnacles for that.
Yeah, something special about it.
It's got a better logo too. I like the logo better. It's more like, I don't know.
The first album's kind of weird. I remember like hearing that after I'd heard Take It Back and was kind of like, ooh, you know.
Yeah, it just kind of like, I mean, it's cool. It's just like I just remember it like maybe dragging a little bit more. Like it doesn't have the same energy as Take It Back. Right. So it's like
energy. That's a good way to put it. It doesn't have like they're just not as accomplished as songwriters on that first record.
Right.
By the time they hit that Take It Back 12-inch, and then there's that double 7-inch that came out a little bit later. That's really good too.
That's great because the reissue that Discord did, like the most recent reissue, they tacked that double 7-inch. That's actually the whole B-side of that reissue. So that was cool.
Okay.
That was pretty cool to get that too. So.
Yeah, that's good.
And then
there's
the
like
3 LP is awesome too. So you know that's
the 3 LP is awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
And somewhere in there's a split 7-inch with Severin, I think too. But all good stuff.
Cool.
Nice. All right, Ebro, what you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. This is a record that came out in 1990. The Reason to Believe LP. I fucking love this fucking record, and I know, like, it's funny because it's like I've said that, and like some people have always like come up with some reason to like kind of diss it or whatever, and it's just like it I don't get it because it's a fucking great record, and like also too, I like melodic like hardcore before, you know, like basically 80s up to like 1990 before like Nirvana and like Green Day and shit got popular. It was like you were doing it and you could potentially like be popular, but you weren't gonna fucking be a millionaire or whatever. So it's like it was a lot more raw. And well, also it's like this is a fucking hardcore record. It's like they're fast and shit. And like, I mean, there's parts that are like obviously more melodic and even emo, if you want to call it that. But it's like it's got a lot of energy. Fuck the dudes with John Bunch, rest in peace. He had a fucking great voice. And it was like I like that they did songs off their demo later, so it's like they still had songs about the scene, like with more serious lyrics or whatever. But it's like, you know, it's cool because it's like it's fast and they're fucking awesome musicians, and it's like I don't know. It's just like it's from a time period where like stuff like that didn't seem to be happening later on, where it's like, you know, when bands wanted to do a melodic record or whatever, it kind of turned into this like just really soulless and fucking sterile, and like we have to sound exactly like this because then we can get on Warped Tour and fucking sell out at the mall or some shit. It's like it's just a different thing. And like they went on to like Sensefield didn't really like grab me the same way, but this Reason to Believe record's fucking amazing. So if you like melodic hardcore, if you like Dag Nasty, you know, and it's faster than Dag Nasty or whatever, but like shit like that, if you're into shit like that, I'd say check it out. It's just they were super talented, and it's like pretty underrated, and you can't like it's not on like streaming and shit like that, and I don't know, but you know,
the other band I always kind of like listened to that album in tandem with would have been the first 12-inch by Shades Apart, like the Wishing Well record.
Right. Well, so like when the last one I was on, like Jeff Rice said something about Shades Apart. I'm like, the first Shades Apart record's fucking awesome. It's like it sounds like we do or whatever. It's really good. And
one on Wishing Well.
It was on Wishing Well too.
Sunspot, right? The Danger one. That's really good too. And it's super melodic and definitely in that sort of mid-era Dag Nasty vein, but like still has enough of a hardcore like punch to it that like, you know, you can relate to it. And like I always Reason to Believe and Shades Apart were they were like car bands for us. Like you go on a car, hop in one of those, like Doughboys record was like that too.
Yes. What happened in the world where that kind of music like just it changed, right? At some point.
I think what happened was that like it's like these bands that were, you know, like basically like 80s like Bad Religion I love too. Once it started getting in the 90s and like, oh well, here's the formula that we do to fucking, you know, everything's got to sound the same. Come record at our studio where everything's going to sound exactly like that. And it's like we have to dress the same on the Warped Tour and all that, you know, just like I think it all, that's what fucked it up. You know, I think it's cool. Like if bands now were doing this and just like, you know, I think those bands didn't have expectations of being superstars or whatever. So it's like you did it and it was like fun. And, you know, like they obviously were capable of you know, making, I guess, more mature, serious music or whatever, which they did with Sensefield or whatever. And that wasn't my thing, but, you know, they had the capability of doing it. But this was like, and the 7-inch is fucking awesome too. And the demo I love too. But it's like they're, you know, it's like it was hardcore, you know, like it was more like a raw kind of honest expression. It wasn't like, you know,
there was kind of like the production values were like a little bit off on those records, but for me, like it's fine. But I think maybe people who are in those bands a few years later, oh man, those records sound really horrible. Let's make it, you know, sound like this now. This is much better, but it isn't.
And I get that a lot of it, you know, is youthful. Like this is what we can do, and this is what we got, or whatever. And obviously you learn from that.
You have like $300 to record, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You have no money, and then you know, And so, I mean, I think. But honestly, though, I think there was obviously a change in culture, a change in like ideas, and change in like mentality that happened in the 90s, and this is what led into like bands, like if they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this melodic, you know, hardcore or punk band or whatever, but it turned into this giant. They like went through this giant deflavorizer machine and shit that fucking makes them all sound exactly the same, and you know you can sell it in a mall store or whatever, but it's just not the soul is lost from it, and it just is a different fucking thing. So
the 7-inch is on Jeff Bauer's label, right? Soul Force, right?
Yeah, it's on Soul Force, and then Nemesis re-released it, but it was the first pressing was on Soul Force. It came out
like right before or right at the same time as the Harvest Hardcore 7-inch.
Yep. Because Soul Force put that out too, which is also another classic. You know, like
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like 88, 87, 88, something like that.
88, yeah. 88. So, and then
prime field day competition.
yeah.
Funny, when I lived in Arizona, Jeff and I hung out a lot, and he was like, "Hey, I got like a box of Harvest Hardcore 7-inches in my closet without covers. Do you want them?" And Eric Kane and I were working at Kinko's at the time. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, bring them over!" And we made black and white covers off an original green cover.
Oh wow!
I had like 100 of those in the distro for like 6 months or something.
Yeah, didn't you have like? Because I remember there was some in the 90s. Someone discovered, like, he must have discovered another batch of like a box of those 7-inches or whatever.
Yeah,
I remember he might have like sold them the vacuum or something. Like, I just remember, I remember picking it up again like in the mid 90s or something because they had that.
I sold a bunch of those in the Ottawa Jihad, I think, to vacuum.
Oh, that was probably it then. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about ripcord. Like,
we're talking about the ripcords. If people don't know what we're talking about,
just in case someone doesn't know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Exactly.
They were like a local band for me when I lived in England, so it's interesting.
They were fun. I mean, I love ripcord. It's like, so it, like it's like in the, like later 80s, like early 90s and shit, like Ripcord and Heresy and those bands, like well, I mean, I guess it's when you're looking at like what hardcore turned into in the US, it was like the European bands and Japanese bands and like foreign bands that were like, this is like sounding like the older shit or like had that energy or whatever. And it's like, it wasn't trying to be emotional funk metal. It was trying to be, it was like fast.
Uniform choice?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it was like, it wasn't, I think there was a sense of progression, but not progression to that side, right? So,
hey, bro, show that record one more time. I'm a big fan of like how that record looks.
Have you? Yeah, I love the cover art.
It just there's something about it. It's like it's not stereotypical. I don't know. It's
yeah. No, and like so, and that was another criticism that people like. I've heard they're just like, oh, they're a Christian band or whatever, and I'm like, I never got that. Like, I think they do mention God in like one song, but it's not a song about God or whatever. Like that, at least that I understood it. But this is the thing. It's like, even if they were a Christian band, they were a fucking good band. I listen to, Bad Brains are like my favorite fucking band, and they prolestatize in a bunch of their fucking music, but it's like they had the skill to create great music that it's like I could look past whatever dumb like God related shit. Like it's kind of that's like I never really first,
right? Like the music came first. I never religious music is putting the religion first, and they just sort of shoehorn it into some shitty genre so they can be like, oh yeah, you like Disturbed, here's a Christian band that sounds like Disturbed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But it's like I love a bunch of bands that are like Satan worshipers. I don't fucking believe in that dumb shit either. It's like, but it's like it's kind of just funny though, because like people are kind of like trying to put it down, like, oh yeah, they're a Christian band, but I'm like, I never really got that. Like, I didn't really pick up on it until there was like maybe one reference and shit. But in that same there was a lot of people I knew who, like I didn't grow up with a religious upbringing because my dad's an atheist and my mom didn't really give a shit. But it's like, but other people I know, they grew up, and it's like if you said, "Oh, Lord knows" or whatever, and it doesn't, like, that reference doesn't mean you're a fucking like like Bible thumper and shit.
Right?
I don't know. It's just a different thing. So
let's address Paul's question. I'm gonna go with a yes. I've always liked that record. I don't know.
Staring Into the Sun.
Yeah.
I like songs on it, but I don't like the leather pants, long hair, like we want to be the cult kind of shit going on. No, I love fucking Screaming for Change. So it's like, I think if that didn't come out and then Staring Into the Sun, if they just came out with Staring Into the Sun and that was their fucking deal from the beginning, and then maybe I would be able to accept it easier.
Unicorn Choice has the wildest fucking arc, and
it's crazy, right? I remember like being really, really confused when I was like young.
Even if you go back to their demos, none of the original members. Like, it's just, or
Oh
none
yeah,
of the members.
yeah, like the first
demos
demo
sound
that
like
came out.
Orange
Yeah.
County Punk shit. Like,
Yeah,
it sounds like the Adolescents or TSOL or something.
Right. That first demo and shit. And then, but so someone was saying, or like, so Blood Days is I don't agree with that at all because I love the fucking Unity stuff. Like the Unity 7-inch is fucking amazing. Blood Days, it's like, all right, he's got like a fucking pitch transposer, like something going on with his voice and shit, so he can hit high notes or whatever, and it's like you can notice it, and it's cool that they still keep the fast songs, but it's like I'd rather hear the rawer version. So, and then like it's Screaming for Change is like a amazing record to me still. Like I still fucking love that.
I love it too.
And that's the thing is like I can I can hang with like Cut of a Different Cause and like some of the songs that are kind of like more like faster, kind of like hardcore and shit, and that that can work. I just think it I don't know, it just hits me different. Like I think it's just the knowing it could be like this and then what it's turned into. It just I don't know. It's like I don't know if that always sits with me well, but that's me.
Fuck out of here.
That was actually
So yeah, Jeff. See, that's the thing is, Jeff, if you'd been on the show, you could have fucking talked about.
They could have, yeah, right. Jeff, when you coming on?
Yeah, right. You could have dressed up like Corporate Adventure. You could have painted your face, and I don't know.
There was actually, just to tie this up, there was actually a thread the other day on one of the Facebook groups. It might have been the What Are You Listening To group, where someone said quite proudly that they prefer like Staring Into the Sun to the first album. Whoa.
Yeah,
things got heated.
Yeah, that's I mean, so that I've known some people that are like, oh yeah, more into that because it's like more, I don't know. I mean, it's like, yeah, Screaming for Change, you could look at it as like, okay, they obviously love Minor Threat, but I love Minor Threat, so I'm like, like it's still a good fucking record. I don't know, but
it's funny because I actually play that Uniform Choice record quite a lot, but I very rarely listen to Minor Threat. I don't know.
Well, right on.
Yeah. I don't know. That even that first Uniform Choice record does kind of have a slightly more like rock edge to it.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, yeah, there is a little more. Yeah,
a little bit, just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I still listen to Minor Threat though, so yeah. I don't know.
All right, Bill, what's your first pick?
All right. I was gonna pop this in the middle somewhere, but Matthias, after your pick, I got to move it in. I was actually considering whether even to do it, because I'm like, oh, is it going to be cheesy if I pick it? But it's the Coffin Pricks record.
It is good.
It's really fucking good. Yeah, I'm like, all right, well, it's got the Saki songs on the back, then the studio stuff, because I had the 7-inch already from when it came out. And I had the MP3s from that whatever Fly By Night website initially posted. So I'm like, all right, well, I already kind of have these, but then decided to get it because it had the other studio songs on it. And I haven't been able to stop listening to it for the last month. It was funny, when they first started up and went to see them, I was just excited that it was another Jeff band because I didn't know Chris Thompson. I still, 13 years later, haven't listened to other Chris Thompson bands. So I'm coming at it strictly
like you haven't heard like Ignition and like,
for whatever reason, that was always kind of something I skipped over. And then like, what was it, the Monarchid? I remember Touch and Go 20th Anniversary Fest, like they reunited for that, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so excited!" I'm like, I've never heard them. I'm sorry.
So check out Ignition.
Ignition's great.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of like. I remember I had that 20 Years of Discord set that had, I think, like,
yeah, they might have.
Well, it had at least one Ignition song on the first or second CD, and then they might have had a Rare thing on the third one.
Yeah,
I don't quite remember, but. Yeah, for whatever reason, like
check out the Fury 7-inch, 12-inch too, because that's really fucking good too.
Yeah, that one I was just kind of trolling around on Discogs and came across the Fury stuff and put like video on while I was working the other day. I'm like, oh shit, this is cooler than I thought it was. So that might be the most other Chris Thompson band I've heard, except for Thompson. I think I'm Thompson or Thomas. Thompson. Okay. Yeah, no, it rules. I got the pink. It's in the sleeve, but.
Yeah, Matt asked us to mention records that put out records that we're listening to.
Nice.
Yeah. Right.
Got the nice
That's
pink
all.
version.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, when I saw you around, I'm like, would it be kind of cheesy to do this? I'm like, no, you're not in the band, so it's okay.
No.
So who was in that band?
No,
Who was in the band?
So it's Jeff on drums.
Jeff Rice or Jeff Jellin?
Jeff Rice.
Yeah.
Jeff Rice.
Rice.
Jeff Rice.
Jeff,
Okay.
if Jeff Jellin was on drums, it would have been really bad.
Would not have had anywhere near the amount of kick or cymbal hits that it has. And then the
then
other
it's
guys were in other stuff, but yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah. Ryan
Yeah, Ryan from Cavity.
He was in like Red Eyed Legends with Chris, and
Okay.
he has a band now just called Coffin Prick, like singular.
Oh,
Yeah,
And it's more like he was in Cavity too. Coffin Prick, like he just put an album out last year. It's got quite a
Wow.
bit of critical acclaim. It's kind of like more like in the Brian Eno kind of realm of like
Wow.
but
it was
and
very
then
cool when I first saw that. It's like, oh wait, new Coffin Prick, and 'cause I remember Jeff telling me this was going to come out. I'm like, oh, new stuff, like, and then
Yeah.
it's Coffin Prick, not Coffin Pricks.
Ah.
and
Yeah,
then
the
Che
Not on it.
Che Lawrence, who actually was in that UK band Bob Tilton and
Yeah.
Tribute. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
he played bass live for them. The recorded stuff, I think Ryan played guitar and bass.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
this
it's
is one of
great.
those things that's been sitting around
Right.
forever. Like I kept bugging Jeff. I was like, "What do you think? Like that would be incredible to do." And he's like, "It'll never happen.
Mhm.
Like people aren't talking to each other. Nobody knows where anything is." And I just kind of kept pestering him until it happened. And
No,
like,
I think it sounds like even better than the 7-inch version.
Absolutely.
Of the songs
Yeah.
or whatever. Like it sounds good and like the songs are catchy.
The
you
live
know.
set, it's kind of amazing how much better it sounds on the record than the dozen-year-old MP3s I've got.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds great. My favorite song is the longest one, which is weird. It's usually not the way it goes. That Only Flesh Wound song, where it's got that kind of melancholic lead riff at the beginning, where it's like and it kind of rings out. I've had that stuck in my head for the better part of the last week. But yeah, big fan, very happy. Got a better release. Yeah.
How many are on pink vinyl, Matt?
250.
How many are on black vinyl? 250. Is it like okay?
Yeah, it's split.
Nice.
I think Chris, I think I said Faith, but I meant Lunch Meat. Like he started off in
Oh,
Lunch
yeah.
Meat and actually played in Soulside in the very, very beginning.
Right.
I think he might be on. I think he might have played bass on the
Selfie?
first Soulside 12-inch on Sandwich, and then he left or got kicked out or something, and then started Ignition shortly after. So,
Right.
So he's been a lifer over there for sure, and like had a million bands under his belt, and almost all of them are killer. So that was for me a little bucket list thing to have a Chris Thompson record. I'm very excited about that, and of course Jeff and Che are old friends of mine, so that's always really nice too.
It wasn't a bucket list thing to have a Jeff Rice record on your list.
There's a few. There's a few already.
There's a
I
few.
think I'm the official record label of Jeff Rice, except for maybe like Robert's stuff.
Right.
I'm going to shoehorn something in right now. I just actually bought this yesterday on the way. Actually, no, it was before I went to the pub. And it's like Jeff Rice is on this record, and Jordan.
Jeff Rice's solo album. Is that
Jordan.
Only Japan.
Right.
I haven't listened to it yet, so I'm not going to comment. But it's the Daylight Robbery. Daylight
Okay.
Robbery. Is
Cool.
it good?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
All their
Honestly,
stuff.
Daylight Robbery is probably the band I've seen the most in my life, between just
wow.
seeing them and playing with them a million times. Probably 100 times easily. Maybe not 100, maybe 50 or 75. I don't know. Probably the most. The
You've
most.
seen them 75 times. I mean, I know they play like all, or they
Played a lot.
when they were playing, but
We played with them a ton too. But yeah, I feel like this one probably.
you were in Warrior Tribes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think I remember seeing you guys get. I don't know.
Yeah, I would probably say they're the band I saw the most in my life.
Wow.
Great band. Love that band. Love everyone in it.
Yeah. All their recorded stuff is really great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out. I was like, hang on a minute, this rings a bell. Oh, that's a Jeff Rice band. Oh, it's on Residue Records. Jordan put it out. It's mine.
Yep.
But I haven't listened to it yet.
You were
so.
beating people away like it's mine.
Get away from me! It's mine.
Get away from the
The
100
demand is too much.
Yeah, I almost got arrested.
Yeah, right.
Buying this record.
Yeah, they don't like that in Japan, I don't think. Yeah.
All right, commercial break. Commercial
Right.
break. The eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed I'm wearing this fine T-shirt, the Analog Attack logo, drawn by Scott Langley, the classic Analog Attack logo. You too can be a proud owner of an Analog Attack T-shirt. All you got to do is go to merchbin.net, collections, Analog Attack, press a couple of buttons, wait a week or so, and you too can be as stylish as me. Up until Sunday, I believe, it's like pre-order thing. So if you fancy buying a T-shirt,
yeah,
how about it?
Smash that merch bin.
Smash that merch button.
That bin button.
Smash that bin button. Because, they might not be reprinted. So it's your last chance.
Limited edition.
Limited edition of like 23 or something. Yeah.
All right. There you go.
All right. Let's move on. We were talking about like melodic hardcore, like that era, and like something changed.
Have you heard Reason to Believe? Because I figured
yes.
If you haven't heard it.
Yeah, I forgot to say. I forgot to say what I was going to say. We had that Life Sentence back and forth thing.
Yeah.
I thought that like Life Sentence was going to sound also like that when
yeah, right,
and it wasn't. But
and they don't.
Let's not open that can of worms again.
Right. Yeah.
Great record. I'd never owned it on vinyl. It was like I got it back in the tape trading days. But
right on.
Yeah. What was I saying? Yes, melodic hardcore from like back in the day. Hold that thought. Also, we've talked a bit about this on the show. Maybe when Bill was on last time or the time before. Denmark, like that era where like bands from Denmark were like doing like US hardcore, like better than like US bands. Maybe people think that era is over, and probably for the most part it probably is over. But there's one band that I really, really like that is contemporary, that has put out records in the last 7 or 8 years, and they're really, really good. And they have people from some of those bands that we've talked about.
Wow.
I love this record, and this is like what you're listening to, and I don't really, I don't often pick like 10 out of 10 classics. I'm kind of all over the place. I don't like, cherry pick stuff. But I was surprised that like no one has shown this record yet, because it's really, really good. I think. I'm talking about The War Goes On.
Okay. We played with them in Denmark or whatever.
Cool. Really?
Yeah. I haven't heard the records, but yeah, I thought they were cool when we played with them.
So who is it? It's like it's people from like Regulations. It's the guitar player from Andy Peterson's Army.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was someone from Andy Peterson.
And Herchtop and Young Wasterners, and there's someone from who was in No Hope for the Kids was in this band. So they're kind of older guys, right? It doesn't sound like any of those bands. Yeah. This is really going back to like old like SoCal, Southern Californian like melodic hardcore. But it's like really gloomy. Yeah. It's got that real gloomy vibe to it, which is kind of hard to do. It's like super melodic, but also has this like gloomy like vibe to it. And all the song titles are like Gloomy Monday, This Shitty Life, Darkest Days, Darkness Descends.
That's why.
The best one, The Man of Constant Sorrow. Like the world hates you, it's like it's real. Like,
I think the Danish are just like that's just how they kind of roll or whatever. They think everything is they're gloomy people.
I think that a lot of people like love this rock. I think for me it's a modern like classic, and it does kind of at times it is almost like take like early Bad Religion, like early like Social Distortion, and like just sprinkle like this. Like Danish magic on top.
Gloominess, some Danish gloominess on it.
Yeah, and then boom, you kind of get this. It's like it's so like every song is like it's so good. It really is like classic status. It will be. It should be like in the future. It's still like 2016 it came out, and they've got a second album which is also good, but this is the better of the two. I want to say.
Only have the Assisted Armageddon. Is that what
that's the one? That's the one. Yeah, that's the second. It's good.
That was like 2021, something like that.
Something
right?
like that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to
Put
check
that one
it
out,
out.
Mike.
It's I mean, I can't imagine like anybody who likes like gloomy like melodic hardcore like not liking this. It really is like top notch stuff
Yeah.
from this.
Well,
Really, really, really good. Yeah.
Who put that out?
Adult Crush.
Okay. Yeah. But
I think they did the second LP too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I think that because they I don't shit now I don't remember, but we played with them in Copenhagen or whatever at Squad there, and then they but like the people that do Adult Crash, they might have had something to do with setting up the show. If I don't know, I don't remember now. It's been a while, but they like Adult Crash just put out some really cool shit. So
yeah. Were they good live? Were they energetic band?
Yeah, they were good. Yeah.
The singer's got a great voice. He's got like he sings in English, but he's got like that a slight twinge of an accent. But it's really, really good. Like real good stuff. Okay, there's a US press on Blackwater. Great. Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought someone had already shown this, but nobody had. So I'm like, okay, someone's got to show this because it's really, really good. So.
By the 70th goddamn show.
I was surprised. I was like, someone must have shown this by now, but it shows us there's still like a lot of records that haven't been shown, right? So
yeah. I actually looked at the list before and I'm just like, there was one thing I was gonna like. I was gonna talk about. I'm like, oh shit, it's on there. It's a different version of it, but I'm just like, I'm not gonna talk about it. So
I feel at this point I can't really be mad at someone for like showing a record.
Well, I mean, it's like there's like fucking 500 records.
Yeah,
or whatnot. It's like,
right.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't, but I did check actually, and I'm like, okay, I won't talk about it. I'll talk about something else.
I think like especially with like new releases, because a lot of people are excited about like new stuff they want to talk about it. So I think it's fine if someone has like a bunch of people show like the same new release. That's cool. Yeah. All right, The War Goes On from Denmark. Check them out if you like really, really good like melodic hardcore, the way it used to be made back in the day.
Back in the old day when things mattered
before Bill was born.
Yeah, right.
Right. All right, Matthias, what's your second pick?
Oh man. Should we stay with DC or German?
Yeah, whatever you want, man. Whatever you want.
Plug it.
Yeah. All right.
We know you love DC, so
yeah. We'll come back to German post-punk later. This is again an older recording that is now just finding the light of day. 80, I think it was 80, 82 maybe that this came. Oh, it never came out. I'm sorry. It was recorded. And then just sort of lingered until Drag City released it recently. And that's this band SKAM.
Oh.
No name. So this, they were a DC adjacent band. They obviously were recording for an LP back in the 80s. It's definitely, you can hear the influence of like that early Discord first 4/7-inch kind of sound, but this is like more melodic, a little bit cleaner. Surprisingly really good recording on the studio tracks that they did. And then I think there's some live stuff on here too. And that may be from 83, I think. Yeah. And they have songs like, Organized Religion, Open Your Eyes, I Want War. They do a cover of the Stooges, Search and Destroy. And the vocals at times kind of have almost a tone like akin to maybe Teen Idles, kind of not quite as maybe brash, but sometimes there's intonations in his voice that reminds me of Teen Idles. And the music, like, it's like DC if it was more influenced by like maybe like the Ramones or the Clash or something, like if they went more in that route, like how the Newtown Neurotics have a real Ramonesy kind of vibe to them at times. Like this kind of has a little bit of that, not as stark, but really interesting. Never heard of this band before. What's that?
Like Black Market Baby stuff?
Yeah. I think so. They played a lot of shows. They were more like a band that would have played with like Scream, and a lot of those bands are on that Mixed Nuts Don't Crack comp. So like Nuclear Krantz, and what's that? Media Disease? Is that the other name of that band?
Yep.
There's some flyers in here. I don't know how many shows they played, but primarily it looks like they played with Scream. So, but yeah, I mean, I never had heard of this before. Like, I'm not even sure who even knew it existed to dig it up. Like, 40 years later, it's pretty incredible. And it's
Drag City would be putting
it's interesting. It's on Drag City too.
Yeah, C Note Records, care of Drag City. So
they're just using Drag City's like address then.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be just like a imprint or something.
Road deal or something.
Yeah. So, but yeah, super interesting. It's good. It's out. It's out on Bandcamp and stuff too. You can check it out. I can't remember where or how I even got turned on to it. But I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna buy that and check it out, and it didn't disappoint. So, I think it's like 3/4 studio and like 1/4 live.
That's a good ratio. And that just came out where it's like 4 or 5 studio songs and then like 15 live ones like that. That's too much the other way.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's like that's all that there is.
That's all they have.
So it's like in that case, like I'll forgive it. I get it. That just came out, Matt.
Yeah. I don't know if I I can't remember if I saw a date on it. Yeah, 2023. So yeah, it was just recently finally released. I don't think they were ever on a comp. I don't think there was ever even a demo tape. I think it was literally like they were a band that were doing like Jethro Tull covers and playing rock music, and then they
you've got my interest. Yeah, wow.
Finally, that sounds interesting.
You're losing them there for a second.
They had a flute player that used to like hop around and shit.
Yeah, and then they somehow heard what was happening in the DC scene, and they were like, "Oh shit, we can write our own songs." And they pivoted into this band that existed for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and there's the liner notes on the inside are interviews just kind of narratives from 2 of the guys in the band who kind of just talk about, lay it all out, how it happened. It's kind of fun to read. So, yeah, interesting. I mean, it's not anything like holy shit, like this is the long lost holy grail of DC hardcore, but it's definitely worth listening to, and it's definitely kind of like a cool like Easter egg in that DC scene.
If they play with Scream a lot, I'm definitely interested because Scream are one of my favorite like DC bands. So
I would definitely picture those bands being together more than say any other Discord band.
Right, gotcha. Nice, beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, definitely want to check that out.
Me too. Yeah,
off my radar.
Yeah, Matto said like Scream meets Wire. That was his like take on it. But yeah, cool.
That sounds good to me.
Right. All right, Ebro, what's your second pick?
Okay. Classic.
Oh boy,
Didn't see that one coming.
I love this fucking record. It is so good, and it's like so. There are a bunch of like. There's a few like live records that I think where the band does well. First of all, they obviously did a bunch of overdubs and shit, so it's not really like live or whatever because it sounds good. And then also I have a tape of like the original show. And it's it sounds much better on the record. And they there's a couple records like that and like Who's Got the 10.5 and shit where they do versions of the songs better, in my opinion, than on like the recorded. Like, so the songs from fucking Cause for Alarm sound much better on this record. Okay. Also, Will Shepler is a fucking amazing drummer. He's like they were so fucking good, like on this record, especially, but like live too, like, you know, seeing AF around that time, and like One Voice and shit like that. Like he's so fucking good. But yeah, you pay to see the band of the band. Like it's like got amazingly stupid like sound bites. It's like the songs are played like really energetically and faster and he's so fucking tight. it's so like that's like after Victim in Pain, it's kind of like my second favorite AF record or whatever. It's also like, you know, I was never into the kind of overly jingoistic like American pro-America bullshit or whatever, but it was a thing at the time. And it's like, and it's just kind of funny, you know, to fucking hear now or whatever, and like kind of, but it also was just something, you know, like skinheads were, that's what their thing was in the fucking late 80s. So it's kind of like it's just like it's stupid, but it's also a good fucking record. So what can you do? You know? But
it kind of, it's not the same, but it reminds me of like The Exploited live at the White House.
yeah, which I also
similarly stupid. Like,
yeah. I think the
have
thing
you seen
is
the YouTube video where it's just Waddy's stage banter from that?
Oh god, yeah,
Just cuts out all the music, just the stage banter.
Well, and I also love that the cover of the record is not the fucking White House.
They didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they probably thought that's the White House or whatever. Like, I mean, so, you know, I love The Exploited, but they're not like, it's not like I'm listening to this as a fucking like intellectual exercise or whatever.
I'm not going to learn anything from this.
You know, the same, like, I can kind of paint AF a little bit in that too, but you know, it's like meeting the AF dudes like Vinny and Roger, they're super nice guys, and they're actually like, you know, it's like they've been doing it so long that it's turned into like a thing that's like a, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think just back then there was a lot of dumb shit just because there was a lot of, you know, like around here there was a lot of dumb people that would go to shows and fucking act stupid. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like you can kind of look back on it and you know, not, I don't know. It was a long time ago, but it's an entertaining record. I think it sounds fucking great. And like, again, Will Shepler's drumming is fucking amazing on it. Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny, like now you're talking about it, I'm like, okay, let's think about like punk or hardcore live records that are really good. We've had this discussion before, and there wasn't like that many that like came up. But
it's like when I think of like, so again, this is kind of like, you know, fucking, it's like a metal live record that basically they just go in the studio and like, you know, like it's like
Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East.
Yeah, exactly. Unleashed in the East, or, you know, like Live Undead or whatever. It's like, you know, like they basically, it's like it's not fully, I mean, it is a live record. Like they did play that show, and like I said, I have the tape of it. But it sounds like, you know, it's like they've augmented it or whatever. But like, I like records like this where it's like they were so tight and so fucking, you know, like sounded so good at that time that they play, like, because I mean, to be honest, like Cause for Alarm is like just a recorded version, like the LP, it just doesn't, you know, it's like, not that it just doesn't have the energy or whatever that they had later on when Will Shepler started playing drums for them, and when they had fucking, you know, the like Steve Martin and fucking Craig ahead and playing stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like, and like the same thing, they were great live when like One Voice I don't, you know, like love as an album, but like they were great live during that time. So it's like, it just I don't know. I mean, it's like, and you know, there's just funny shit about like this is the first this is the first song on our debut album, Victim in Pain. The song is also called Victim in Pain. You know, it's just like shit like that. It's just like it just makes it fun, you know, fun to fucking listen to. So, you know, but yeah, I think of that. I think of like, to me, like Who's Got the 10.5, the songs from In My Head sound better on that or whatever. Like, right. I think it's just like the live rawness of it and speed and energy comes across much better than what the studio versions of some of these songs are like. Yeah, and like let's all sing along in this song in unison. and like you're like, since we're an American band, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance and like shit like that. So, you know, I don't know.
I see this like crop up like quite a lot. Does Vinny actually plug his guitar in when they play? Like,
I think most people are saying no.
Okay, these days, always.
I mean, I think even back like around then, like he wasn't doing it because it's like, but it could have been just that I don't know, to be honest. Like I've seen them a couple times and I can't tell if he's playing or not, because it's like he's also like now he just running around and
right.
like at least like back then he was pretending to play it or whatever, you know, like if he wasn't, I don't, to be honest, I don't know.
He reminds me of Yannick Gers from Iron Maiden, you know, who's like the third.
Yeah, right. It's like he's like the third guitarist
and
a two guitar band or whatever. But yeah, no, but I mean, like we I was doing a band called Pillage and we played with them at a club here, and like just talking to him, he was so cool. He was super fucking nice, and it was just like, you know, like not that we were whatever, like, you know, it's not like we were like a big band that he had to like be cool with to, you know, for whatever reason. It's just like we were talking and he was just saying like I was with my wife and we were talking to him and he's like says to my wife, he's like, you got to put this one on ice. like shit like that. It was just like, I don't know. He was a super nice dude though. So I don't know. But you know,
that live record's like what, 87 or 8 or something?
No, it came out in, I think it was 89. But I mean, it was recorded like 88, 89, I think.
Yeah.
It was before, because I mean, Roger went to prison in 89. So I think it was like, they recorded in 88, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it would have been, but I saw them in Toronto and at Blondie's in Detroit with like the Verbal Assault.
Yeah, that was 88. Yeah.
That was 88. Those fucking shows were so good. Like, I mean, yeah, youthful exuberance and all that stuff aside, they're like a top 5 show for me from they're back to back. I think it was one night off, and then we saw them again, and it was just like Blondie show was nuts. But there were American flags out and dudes in SS Action t-shirts on the stage and all that. So
I mean, so this is the like that's the thing. Well, especially around Detroit, there was much more like here. It's like there was a lot of skinheads and shit, but there was like the Nazis had kind of been beaten. Like not that they wouldn't try and like show up and shit, but it was like Detroit, I think.
They were still going to hardcore shows, yeah. They hadn't transitioned to deicide just yet.
Right.
They were about to do that in the near future.
Right. So I mean, it was kind of like, I've heard pretty scary stories about shows of Blondies and shit, like like just the fucking having a sea of people like fucking Seek Heiling and shit like that,
fucking Warzone matinee. Matt Cross and I go there, and that happened, and like we eventually were just like, we leave now or we die. Like
right.
It's like a bunch of dudes like, yeah, it was bad, fucking really bad.
Yeah. So I mean, going to even Detroit within the last, like however many fucking years, like a bigger show, like fucking Fools would come out still or whatever. And it's just, it just is. And that's not to, whatever it is, what it is, but it's just like, like think of a big club with a sea of people, and then, these idiots kind of mix in, and then it's just like,
I mean, we had it in England too, but I mean, not on quite that scale, but you'd go and see a band like maybe the UK Subs in like 1991. Still a lot of like Nazi skinheads showing up to see the UK Subs. Yeah, it's crazy, right? What are they doing?
Yeah. But I mean, like Chicago didn't it did, but then all the other skinheads fought them, and they didn't come around really to shows like kind of like into the 90s, but then the other skinheads were beat you up for whatever reason. So it's like, it was like, it was like, I don't know. It was just a different time. And that's why it's funny when, younger kids are kind of like, oh yeah, we need to take it back to this or that. It's just like, seeing people get stomped out for nothing was kind of like, you don't want it to go back to that, It's like, and like, not only them, but the fucking bouncers that used to be in the clubs in Chicago were like, like the fucking just gigantic dudes that would just beat the shit out of people for like no reason and stuff. And I don't know. It was just But anyways, that live AF record is fucking awesome. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't see that one coming, but yeah, is as far as like punk, hardcore live records go, live records go.
Yeah, I mean that's like so. Someone like I think on Facebook or whatever, like someone posted Liberty and Justice for or whatever, and people were like talking about it and all this shit, and talking about like like people were like, oh well, this is kind of like the last of their records that I really got into, and I mean yeah, like but live at CBGBs came out after Liberty and Justice, so it's like that to me is like it I think if you're gonna do a live record, if you do like your old songs but you play them more fucking like with energy, and like to me it sounds better just because again like and not that the drumming on like on Calls for Alarm is bad, just like fucking Will Shepler's drumming so much more. It's just like just fucking in the pocket and fucking on it and just doing like crazy shit. So it's like that kind of comes across a lot better. And then they do old songs too, and it's awesome. And it's like now going to see them, like I remember the last time I saw them, which I guess now was a couple of years ago, they would play like United Blood and no one would know it, and then they would be like right after like, okay, we're gonna do Gotta Go or some shit that's like on like Evertap, and like all these kids were like freaking out. It's like the old hardcore songs. Everyone's just like, and then they would play.
Was that like breakout? That was that breakout hit, right? That
that's kind of like
so
what's that?
It was on a Punkorama comp.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's just a different thing, but
All right, Bill. What's your? We're still on round 2, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's great. All time, it's great.
All right, so
go ahead.
This one, actually, one of the things I was thinking about with this actually goes in with your pick ever, because Agnostic Front is one of those bands that I just can't hang with Roger's vocals at all. Like, there's some cool riffs in there, but I just like can't take his voice. So it plays into this a little bit. It is the Concrete Elite Ultra Razia split that just came out on Warthog Speak.
Ooh.
So the Concrete Elite tracks, it took me seeing them to figure it out, because like the guy's voice it's like just on the right side of Roger Miret, where it's a little like
Yeah.
So it's just on the right side of it. And seeing them play live and playing with them actually like 1000% made it click for me.
Wow.
So this one, they're from Texas, they're from Austin. Just 3 songs. So it's three songs from them. This Victory at Any Cost is just stuck in my head for days at a time when I hear it. It's modern, well produced, tough, but not just like idiotic, I'm gonna stab you, oi, but like it feels like it's got some heft to it, And yeah, his vocals are very kind of almost parodic, but not up to that line. Like it's just, like I said, it's just on the right side of Roger Miret for me to listen to.
What about Roger's voice on Victim in Pain though? Because it's like he hadn't really gotten into the like that kind of style was like late 80s, early 90s.
I did give it another try like within the last 2-3 years. I was like, okay. Like that's it. It went from I don't want to listen to this ever again to all right.
But
that's not
thing where, like, maybe by the time I'm 50, I'll love it. I don't know. Maybe it'll click like that.
You need to be older to understand.
Understanding when you're.
No, I fucking love like Victim in Pain is just like a great like a classic.
Oh no, I mean they've got cool riffs. I'll give them that. The riffs are cool. But yeah,
people say that like him and like Sothera from Crucifix sound kind of similar.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I think people like have compared Dehumanization to like a West Coast version of like Victim in Pain or whatever. Obviously different lyrically and shit, but like but like kind of that style and stuff. And yeah, I guess in a way there is kind of that sound to the voice or whatever a little bit. I don't know. Sorry. Talk about.
No, it's all right. I brought it up. I had that in my head when I'm thinking about something to say about this. Yeah. I'm like, all right, it's like Roger Miret, but not quite there. And then you pull AF up. I'm like, all right, I'm going to move this up. This was initially going to be last. But I'm shuffling all my picks today. I had a bit planned out mic around your German post-punk, but it's just been obliterated. We'll get to the German bands.
All right.
So where are those?
So there's 3 Concrete Elite songs on here. Those are all super catchy. And then there's 4 Ultra Razia songs. They're from Montreal. They sing in French. So it's a little bit less kind of tough sounding. It's a little bit cleaner. Like there's more chorus on the guitars. And there's a Blitz cover sung in French. They do Razors in the Night, but it's translated to Bizarres dans la nuit. And again, my French is terrible. So that's the best you're going to get out of me.
So
yeah,
I'm sorry.
3 originals on a cover from Ultra Razia. But yeah, this came out in January, I want to say.
Okay.
On Warthog Speak, it's a nice clear vinyl, and then the artwork is really cool too. Like the 12-inch cover itself is, some eyes creeping out on you, and then the poster inside. I hope this can do it justice because it's just like 17 different things going on all at the same time. So you got the guy in the hat selling you all the stuff. Then you got the guy with the needle in his forehead looking in on the Grim Reaper stabbing a cop through the eye via the mouth. And then you got Mr. Skinhead down there.
Yeah.
With the skulls and the boots. And this skull still has it's eyes. Down here, that one still got the eyes in there. That one
because the dude didn't stab out those eyes. That's why.
It's 2 of the better, just like modern day Oi bands going.
Are they from? Where are they from? They're both from.
Ultra Razia is from Montreal.
From Montreal, right? Okay.
Yeah. So they sing in French. They've been around a while.
Yeah, I've heard the name. At least
like they put out another LP on Warthog last year.
I was going to say, I feel like didn't someone showed that on here, right? The Ultra Razia record from last year.
The LP, I think, yeah. Because it had also kind of similar like artwork you had to stare at. It was like a big gatefold.
Who did the artwork?
Let me check the credits.
It's like it's got like he's like used like so many ideas, and normally people would like have like one of those on a like this. But like,
it's there's you have to look at it, and then
he was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw everything in.
Right.
Like the dude
artwork
like
by Grim Black, graphic design by Ramen GD. So I'm big fan of it. Concrete Elite took me a little bit to figure out. Like I was actually at a show they played here, like 2016 or 2017. I watched a song, or no, I didn't even watch them play because I didn't really like the recordings. I got an offer to get a ride to go to another show, and I think I left. But then seeing him playing with them last year at Subterranean, like it just clicked. And I was real happy when I saw it was going to be a split with Ultra Razia because I've been a fan of them for a while too. Been a fan of them for a while. So yeah, if you're into Oi and just like cool ass artwork, Rebellion put out the European version, but it's Warthog Speak for North America. And I big fan.
Cool.
Nice.
Look it up, even just for the artwork, it's worth it.
Cool. All right. Spain. I'm going to Spain.
Yes.
Man, Spanish punk is like something else. Like there's nothing quite like it. This is not like my field of expertise, but like I can't like really think of like a Spanish band that I've heard that I didn't really like. It's like it's all like so good. Yeah. And obviously there's so many. There's a deep history with Spanish punk, and I'm not really the person to make a speech on it. But there's a band that I really particularly like. That until like a few days ago, I only had like their 3rd LP, which I played to death when I got that. And finally, like on the same day, I got their 1st LP and the 2nd LP. Like on the same day, so I was like super excited to get like both of those, especially on the same day. They're from Toledo, I think, in Spain. I'm going to call them a contemporary band, but they might have broken up by now. I think the last LP came out in like 2018, like 2019.
Sudor. Yeah, Sudor. Yeah.
I couldn't like just choose one. I had to like choose. Both of them.
Yeah, right.
Because I got them on the same day. And they, they're both like black and white. They both have 10 songs. They're both on the same label. It's the same band. They have to come.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, we played with them and stayed with Hector, the singer. Like
3-piece band, right? Like it's just like it's punk, but it's verging on like hardcore. It's like
There's
kind of thin,
snottiness to it.
but it's like it's so catchy. It's like I think it was like this is the older one, right? The Ganas. This is the older one of the two.
Yeah,
so I played this first, and I was like, "Oh man, this is fucking incredible!" Like I was hooked, like right from it just had my attention, like right from the beginning. It's like so catchy, and then they're not a D-beat band, but what they do is that they take like discharge riffs, like they'll take like "Protest and Survive" and kind of twist it around a little bit and make a super like catchy like anthemic punk song out of it, and it's like so good. It's so good.
Yeah, they're fucking great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're still together or not.
You know what? I think I remember reading like people were surprised when the third LP came out because like people thought they'd kind of broken up. But,
because the last time, the last time they played, they played out here, it would have been maybe like
2016, I think.
Was it that late?
Yeah, I think it was 15 or 16. So
like because we like the band I was doing, we play with them.
You guys play with them.
Yeah. But they're a really cool band and really cool people. So
it's like top class like punk to me. It's, doesn't get much better than this. I guess like this one came out on Todos. Hang on, let me get this right. Todo Destruido in the States.
Yeah,
like Beat Generation did like both of them in Spain. I guess Beat Generation is kind of quite a big label. They do like more like almost like major label bands too. But
but I think like, and again I'm could be off on this a little bit, but I thought they kind of hooked up with like Munster,
right?
And they reissued a bunch of like old Spanish shit, and they did, stuff like that. So it's,
like the email, the web address is like munsterarma.com on this. So I think it's Munster.
So it's like tied in, But Sudor were really cool. We played with them in Madrid, and then also, like I think they're had lived in Toledo, but like. Okay. Also, Madrid's not that far from Toledo, so it's like, I think I want to say like Hector's family was like from Madrid, so it's like he, I think was staying in, like his grandparents' old like apartment or whatever and stuff. So we stayed with them when we were here, but I think he might have grown up in Toledo. I don't know, but yeah.
Mike, were you having didn't you post you listen to HHH the other day too?
Yes,
yeah. No, that's a fucking great record, man. Like that's so good.
You're having a little Spanish punk renaissance over there.
Well,
it's like it's so good. It's like there's nothing bad. I've not heard a bad band from Spain. I'm sure there are some out there.
And like HHH too. It's like that fucking. It's so like because that's what I'm talking about. It's like when shit was kind of getting a little weak here, it's like stuff like that, like it's like holy shit, that's so fucking fast, and like it's just like super catchy though. It's fast, but it's catchy.
Right.
And,
it's like punk but it's hardcore, and it's like kind of it's punk. But it's so punk, and like Subterranean Kids in the early days, bands like that. It's
awesome.
all it's all so good. And so if you like Spanish punk and you haven't heard Sudor.
The split with V2's Dance.
V2's Dance. And then like Leo de Social, fucking. There's so many bands,
right? That like both old and new, and like from the 80s
and No, there's still cool. Like when Crudos did a tour of Spain, which was now, shit, it was like 10 years ago now or whatever, but we played with like a lot of cool bands there or whatever, and there's still cool shit that's happening that's coming out that's good.
There's just something about it. It just seems so like real, it's like it's so passionate and like kind of makes you believe in punk again if you've kind of maybe like fallen out with punk a little bit. It's like, man, this is like okay. Now I remember like why I kind of got into punk music and stuff because
it's like anthemic. It's got energy. It's got fucking Ganas. It's got it's got everything. It's just like a different. It's not like played out kind of like with no passion. It's got
it's like super passionate.
So that's what I hope and expect for bands when I listen to them. And
it's not much to ask for, you would think, right? But yeah,
right, yeah. Well, no, yeah, you would hope, but I mean, and again, it's kind of like sometimes it because my family's from there, it's like that speaks to me too as well. It's just like, but it's a different, I don't know. There's just a lot of bands now. It's like you hear and it's kind of like, oh, it's cool, but it just doesn't hit the same way. So
right.
But
yeah, and even when they're kind of you can hear discharge, you're not like it doesn't. They do it in such a good way that you're not like like another D-beat band.
Well, it's not like you're not like, oh, this is fucking Sudor or whatever.
No,
like,
no, not at all. It's
like
anthemic, like punk.
It's like its own thing. It's like they didn't create it to fucking be like, okay, we're gonna just do a carbon copy of this shit. So
classic stuff from the modern era, the 2000s.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, the artwork on those records was incredible too. Like I had a shirt for years with that church with the hand coming out.
Right.
That's on the cover of one of them. Yeah, I had that as a shirt forever until it just kind of fell apart.
Nice.
Yeah, it's real nice, real like stark.
Yeah.
Aesthetic to the
yeah.
All right, that's my second pick. Sudor from Spain.
Third.
Is that your third?
Third. All right, Matthias, what's your third pick?
All right. Last time I was here, I wanted to talk about this record really bad. I spent way too much time looking for it. Basically having to admit that I maybe never owned it. I went to buy it and I realized, oh, maybe that's why I don't own it, because it was really expensive. This is, let's go back. This is, what is this, 83? Hit the space bar and mute myself. They were from Wolverhampton, UK. And this is one of those bands that put out a absolutely stellar first record and then kind of really just fell off. And by the time anybody really heard of them, they're already trying to transition into, the big time. But this album's the Wildflowers, The Joy of It All. There it is. I don't even know how I stumbled across this record. It was some weird, obscure blogspot post-punk blog thing from years ago. And they have a single that came out, I think, preceded this just before, called Melt Like Ice. It's got a track from this album and then another single that's fucking amazing. So I tracked this album down, and it hits all the spots, all the check marks for that kind of real early 80s melodic post-punk, real bass driven. Like last time we were talking about the Comstat Angels.
Right? Yeah.
It's a little in that vein. I think it's a little more melodic than that. There's one other single I think associated with this period that's got like one other track that's not on the LP that's worth tracking down too. But then after that, so the original guitar player of this band left after this album. His name was Dave Newton, and he went on to form the Mighty Lemon Drops. And then, and then after that, this band just, that's like, I don't know, John McGeoch leaving Magazine or something. It's like they're just not the same after that, right? Reflex Records. I have no idea what else they put out at the time.
Reflex. Not Husker Du. Not the Husker Du.
Well,
yeah. Well, it might be. Yeah, no.
Was it Duran's label? The Reflex.
Maybe. They're lucky. Funny though, when I was doing a little research on them, there was a big gap between this and their second LP, and of course their second LP doesn't live up to the hype. And then after that, they kind of tried to pivot and break into the U.S. market in like the later 80s. They were the first, what I'm going to use air quotes here for punk band, signed to Slash Records, I think in like 87, 88. But by that point in time, I'd be hard pressed to call them a punk band. But yeah, I mean, great catchy songs. This album slots right in there nice with Comstat Angels or Chameleons or or anything like that, definitely worth looking it up and listening to it if you've never heard it. Everyone I've played it to is like, what the fuck is this? Another band like this too, I think they're Italian. They're called Deaf Ear. They had a 12-inch, I think it was called Waiting. It's one of those ones that's on my gotta buy list at some point. They only had maybe 4 songs, but that album's also incredible. I kind of found them at the same time, and they've just been in rotation. It's listened to that a lot in the car and stuff, you know.
Another band that kind of came up from that era on this show that I'd never heard of before was the Sad Lovers and Giants.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which was a really good, like, you know, recommendation of a band that I'd never heard of before. That a really good.
I have a friend who is obsessed with that band. I have never really gotten into them, but familiar with them enough. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with them. I'll have to.
That's not
me too. I don't know.
New to me too. Yeah.
Yeah, I you know, the Wildflowers is a band that I think most people probably never heard of. If I hadn't been doing the deepest of deepest dives, you know, looking through a guy who's 10 times more obsessed than I'll ever be about that genre of music, and he posted that, and it immediately hit, you know, because of course that was a time where I was very hungry for that style of music, and a lot of it was like, there's so much stuff off the radar in that kind of early 80s, you know, stuff that never got reissued, or stuff that was really only released locally and never really had much broad appeal. And I think that, you know, much like, you know, I think we talked about before, like the first Ultravox record or something like that. It's just very different than most of the stuff they did later. But that one's I would recommend that to anybody. So.
Wolverhampton's like basically Birmingham, right? Wolverhampton is like a part of Birmingham, I think. God, I'm from the UK. I should know this. Let's know in the comments.
You're asking us.
Yes.
Come on.
Hey, we're all from Chicago, remember?
I know. I'm not from the Midlands of England, but I'm pretty sure.
I've been to Birmingham, so yeah.
Like, because their football team.
Oh yeah, the
Wolves.
Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Wolverhampton Wanderers or Wolves.
Yeah. Wolves. Yep. Well, I know the Wolves. Like, I know the football team. But
I'm pretty sure it's Birmingham, but so is Coventry too. Coventry is Coventry, but it's like near. Anyway, I'm going to get myself in trouble with my geography, so let's move.
Well, we all know that Black Sabbath was from Birmingham.
But were they? They say that, but like, you know, like Led Zeppelin say they were too, but they were like from like kind of, you know.
Was Black Sabbath not from Birmingham?
They probably were, but you know, I bet like at least one of them like wasn't. I don't know. Yeah. It's a kind of controversial statement to make.
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, I just know that they're like, you know, we're talking about like if fucking Tony Iommi is cutting off his fingers, like working in a factory or whatever, you know, like I can see.
They were all from the kind of the same neighborhood, right? But like one of them was like a bit like richer than the others. Maybe Tony was the kind of like the kind of more middle class guy.
Really? Yeah.
I know. I'm just making things up.
No, I don't know. But
Birmingham, crazy. So many bands came from Birmingham. So.
Yeah, like the Wildflower. They were from Birmingham. Or no, they were from
Wolverhampton.
According to Wikipedia, I think. Yeah.
Also, yeah, and also like I don't know if you're gonna ask us about like, oh yeah, that's like in the UK, we're gonna be like, sure. Yeah, sure. I don't know.
London's in the south, Manchester's in the north,
right.
And there's Scotland. Yeah, right. Good.
I'm basically Japanese at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Ebro, what's your pick?
Well, I'm gonna, because I know that Matt loves this record.
Oh yeah,
I've been listening to it lately. So,
dude, I was this close to picking that record.
Oh, actually, really? Yeah. This is a fucking classic. TV's Blackwards by Xmal, the first Xmal LP. It is funky. They use fucking loops that everyone else had used, but they make the song sound fucking amazing. Brother Jay is a fucking amazing MC. It's a fucking great record. It's super underrated. It's like a lot of people don't like for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the ultra black Afrocentrism or whatever has turned people off. Yeah, Black Watch, but it's like it's I don't know, it's a fucking classic. So it basically just, like when it came out too, and it came out like in 1990, I think it was 90, and it basically, like I said, there's using loops that like, they use the fucking the James Brown loop or whatever that they are being Rakim used, but the fucking song that they do is great. It's so fucking good. So it's kind of like that's, to me, if you're like, especially at that time, it's like if you're using loops that like were like part of like songs that were super fucking popular, but you made it like your own song and shit, then that's, and also didn't really like fuck with it enough to really like change it up. It's just a straight loop and shit.
Right.
It's so fucking good. So R.I.P. Sugar Shaft, R.I.P. Professor X, like, yeah, and that's the thing is like after that, like I haven't listened to fucking Exodus, the second album, probably since the early 90s and shit. So
that one
like
never caught on for me.
Yeah, that never, and then I haven't even like I think they even got back together within the last whatever
2000 mid 2000s. They did that Return to Mecca album. Half of that record, fucking outstanding. And then they have another album after that called like Mainstream Thugs or Mainstream Outlaws or something. That one falls short, but you should check out Return to Mecca. Like the first
check it out.
tracks of that record are amazing.
So like, and I saw that they were playing like the gathering of the Juggalos and shit.
Yeah,
like stuff like that. Which is, if you had told me that in 1990, but if I had known that those were gonna happen or whatever, anyways. But if I had known that like that would happen, like I wouldn't have fucking seen that. So, but it's super funky. It's a fucking great record. It's kind of like, I don't know, even like the what people could portray as black nationalism or whatever, like what they're talking about is like a lot of it is in response to like shit that's been said about black people or whatever. So it's like, it's just like, no, that's not, you're not correct or fucking lying about this shit. Fucking, like it's that's a fucking just great record. So I don't know, like,
and
we've talked about this before. There's so many like classic hip hop records from that era. Like it's insane.
Is like is like Sonny Carson's kid or something too. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, so there's that connection too. It's just, like I mean, it's like even outside. Well, I mean, that's still considered the golden era or whatever. But it's like even came late for like the late '80s shit that was happening. But it's so like, it's like I hadn't listened to it in a minute, and I just threw it on, and it's like it just takes you back to like like a good. My wife was saying something. We were listening to Gangstar or whatever, and she's just like, it's like this music is timeless music, it's like you throw it on and like this is still fucking great. It's still like, it's like it doesn't change. It's still funky as hell, and it's still like you can get down to it, and it's like you just like, I was listening to it in the car today, like fucking going to see Chef Joe, like, and I'm like yeah, I need just shit like that where it's still, when you listen to it like years and years later or whatever, and it still hits you the same way. That's the mark of a great record. So
when I was living in Logan Square, and I had a house in Logan Square, I was listening to this album one day, probably off of a CD or something, and the doorbell rings and the mailman is there, and he's like, "Is that X-Clan?" And he was like, "Shit, I haven't heard this in like 15 years or whatever." Yeah. And I burned up the CDR of it, and the next day when he came back to get the mail, I left it for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, and it was cool. It was cool too, because it's like the shit that was coming out at the time, it was like, everyone had kind of their own style. Like, you know, it's like Brother J, when you hear him, you know that's him, right? Like, you know, it's from his voice, from his flow, from the way that he rhymed or whatever. So it's like there definitely is like that was from a time where it wasn't like things weren't homogenized to, you know, like it was kind of like we need to do our own shit and this is how we're doing it or whatever. And you know, sometimes now it's like you don't get that same feeling. And again, you know, I know that's like an old man yelling at cloud kind of shit, but it's like it's sometimes it just doesn't come across the same way now or whatever. But like back then, you know, late 80s, early 90s through mid 90s and shit, there was so much like great shit coming out.
The follow-up single to that album too, that Fire and Ice track.
Oh yeah.
That's fucking great. Like it's so it's got and then the Professor X did, I think, a solo album, and then
he did. I think he did 2 or whatever. Yeah, and then there was the Dark Sun Riders and stuff. You know, but
I definitely go check out Return to Mecca. I mean,
yeah, I'll check it out.
It's really good.
And I think that's the thing is like now, you know, like we've kind of discussed other times I've been on this. It's just like there's been so much shit that like just so much comes out that it's like there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I didn't even fucking realize this came out. You know, like I didn't even realize that, like, you know, it's like something like
yeah. I think I found Return to Mecca like 10 years after it was released, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also, like I said, it was shocking that they played the Gathering of the Juggalos and shit. but I guess, you know, hey, that's the thing. It's like, because there was like a lot of older rap groups started playing again. So I don't know if it's just like, you know, there feel like there was more of a, I haven't gone to the Gathering of the Juggalos, so I don't know, but there might be more of a you know, a hunger for like seeing like older groups or whatever perform. Right. Maybe that's what it was. Right. Or maybe they're just fucking juggalos now instead of pro-black. I don't.
Yeah, you had to wait 70 episodes, but finally.
Right. Well, no, that was the thing is I knew Jordan was going to be watching, so I'm like, I better talk about the juggalos because he loves it.
All he ever fucking talks about.
Right, that's right. It's like I just saw him last night. He was
Get
like,
it, Jordan.
Like, he's like, are you gonna go to the Gathering this year?
We know ICP's on the anti-fascist side now. We know.
Right.
All right. Nice.
Classic.
Best.
All right, Bill, you've got the new Insane Clown Posse 7-inch.
I do, as a matter of fact. So my next one. Similar thing with Matthias, where it's kind of an older new wave post-punk thing. I just stumbled onto it on YouTube. Like the algorithm just gifted me this album a couple years ago, and it was pretty good. And then I forgot about it, and there's the garbage truck.
There it is. He's late. What's he been doing? He's 9 minutes late.
It's very late.
Wait,
a lot earlier in the show.
Dude, yeah.
Like, why does it have like a
everyone knows
melody?
So you know he's coming. So.
Yeah, well, are you supposed to go out there and like kind of get garbage like, buy some garbage from him?
I guess like it's sort of like final warning. Agnostic front time.
Like
final warning.
Yeah, right.
So you know you've got a couple of minutes to run down and throw out stuff.
So you can take your second uniform choice LP out to the curb.
Yes. No, he just comes to pick up all you know the crap that I show on this program.
Yeah, right. It's like after you talk about it on the program, you're like throw it out to the garbage.
It's a strict 1 in, 1 out system.
Yes.
Yeah.
For everyone, very tight. All right, Bill. What's your?
This is one of the 2 fake German bands.
Fake German,
but they're actually from Poland.
Oh,
and Klaus Mitfach. Klaus Mitfach. Klaus Mitfach. So it's a Polish new wave post-punk band that, again, I knew nothing about. They just kind of came up on the YouTube algorithm a couple years ago. And I was buying buying something else from a guy, looking through his listings, and I saw this was in there for like $15, I think. It's fantastic. It's kind of like if early Gang of Four tried to write songs like the English beat, but not the ska English beat, but kind of the like they've got very busy bass lines. There's not quite the same level of like slashing guitars in it, but it's fucking weird too. Like it's very off kilter new wave. Yeah, it came out in 1984. It's got also really cool kind of cover art with that guy with like a bug face hanging out up in the corner there, and then more kind of collage stuff on the back. And again, it's all in Polish, so I have no clue what they're singing about. I honestly can't even read you any of the song titles because it just, despite living in Chicago and knowing plenty of people that could translate for me, I can't do it. I don't know any Polish myself. But there's a couple songs that are kind of slower, but for the most part, it's very upbeat. But I could see them playing something like an US festival or something, but like playing first. Like, it's just too left of center for it to be like big radio hits. But they have some really cool, like really thick bass most of the time. Occasionally it does delve into a little bit of slap bass, but it's never an obnoxious amount of it. It's usually just an accent. Then the guitar is super thick, but then every once in a while it'll go into like Law and Order mode, so it turns into like dad blues, like that kind of screechy like and it just like kills your ears, but it's only for a solo. I don't know, it's really wild. Like I don't know if I'm doing it justice. Like it really does kind of seem like if Entertainment Era Gang of Four tried to write kind of a pop record. It's super catchy. I don't know anything what they're saying. I don't know if anyone else. I've never heard or seen anyone mention this band before.
Is that on Tom Press? Is that like
it is? Yeah, it's the state-run Tom Press.
State-run Tom Press.
And it's like
does it like the beep out?
Does it have the mold injection center? Have you seen the center labels? Has it got those cool? Okay, maybe that's just on the 7-inch singles, like the Tom Press. They have that injection mold, like
nothing
7-inch singles that Tom Press used to do.
Yeah, nothing that cool. It's just weird. Like there's a bunch of different moods to it. Like there's one song that kind of almost sounds like that Sieki Era LP, but there's no keyboards anywhere on it. It's just guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. And there's occasionally like big kind of harsh gang vocals on it. So like imagine if gang vocals came into the English beat, or Mike, as you would know them, the beat.
The beat.
He's like, who?
The Wolverhampton beat.
Oh, the beat. Okay.
It's very left of center, off kilter new wave. Like it's
like the Polish beat.
Yeah, Polska beat. Playing down at the Zimne Piwo. I was very surprised when I saw that someone in the US was selling a copy of it. So I just got that in this week.
Cool.
I listened to it daily for the last 4 or 5 days. And there's a bunch of different moods, and they're mostly pretty upbeat. And it's just a lot of weird sounds clashing. And there's like 15 songs on it too. So there's a lot of opportunities for different sounds in it. But
it's funny because there's a lot of like Japanese stuff from that era too, which as you're speaking it, I'm kind of thinking that there was a lot of like post-punk new wave bands that were also like throwing like a lot of other stuff, like some slap bass or like more commercial sounds in Japan too at that time,
and still have it, but still
slap bass was universal.
Yeah, it's really wild. Like it really does. There's a lot of Gang of Four in it, but it's not like slashing guitars at all. It's like the kind of texture of it, and there's not
shimmering.
Not a lot of that. It's all pretty like he's almost playing like Ramones drum beats underneath a lot of it, like the big walking bass lines, but with also the weird ass guitar. It's wild. I really am a fan of it. Like I saw it randomly on YouTube a couple of years ago and
nice.
Kind of forgot about it. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, let me add this in. Because initially Like the guy had a different thing that was on my want list for a while, that band Victim from Belfast. And I was thinking like, all right, I'll talk about that. And turns out like half the songs on that Victim thing were kind of shitty. So I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. But the Klaus Mitfuck, I don't know. Yeah, Klaus Mitfuck. I have no clue how I'm supposed to actually say that second word.
Mitfuck sounds better.
Yes.
That's the one of the fake German bands.
One of the fake German bands.
One of the fake German bands. It could have been three.
It could have been.
Could have been three, but I looked at the list and someone already took Kraut. So.
Fuck sounds like a fucking like first baseman of some 1980s baseball team or something.
Travel throat to Mitfuck.
Yeah.
Double play.
He played for the Cubs, I thought. So.
Yeah. With Johnny Walkenfuss and Carl Yastrzemski.
Right.
Yeah, it's highly recommended. I'm sure you can find it. Well, I know it's obviously on YouTube. That's where I first heard it. But yeah, I didn't really see many other. I don't think anyone else in America was selling it, at least on Discogs. Yeah, it's super fun. It's super weird. And if you do listen to it, once you get to that second half, you'll know what I'm talking about when you hear the kind of Sieki era gang vocal part.
I was going to ask you, before you said it, I was going to say, is there any like Sieki era kind of like,
There's a little bit in
little
like
bit.
one song.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no keyboards, so it's all just different textures of bass, guitar, and drums.
Right.
And that awful Law and Order guitar tone comes up like 2 or 3 times. But it's like a Stockholm Syndrome thing. Now I'm talking about how good it is. But yeah, I remember that the first time, like, oh, that's. Ugh. But no, now like listen 5 in a week. It's like, oh fuck yeah, Blues Dad solo time.
Nice. I got a real German record for my fourth pick.
Real German record from
real German record. Yeah.
No, fake German.
That's my second pick. My first pick was a German record too. Yeah.
See,
this is that era of like hardcore.
To do the Chris Thompson. And then it was going to be second. Then Ebro, you had to bring up Agnostic Front.
And,
I know like we're all old enough to remember this, but like the mid '80s when like hardcore was kind of going through some changes. 85, 86, 87. I'm a big fan of that era myself. But like maybe some purists are not so keen. There's a lot of like different influences coming in here and there with bands. But this is a German band, and I have not owned this on vinyl before. It's the first time, but I've kind of always been a bit of a fan of this band and this record. But I feel like most people prefer the older stuff, like to this one, maybe the first LP over this one. And it came out in 1986, and when I put it on after like buying it on vinyl for the first time, I was like, oh, you know what? I bet when this came out, like in the punk scene, everyone thought it was like too metal. They thought it was like a heavy metal record, right? I thought that when I first like listened to it again. So I was like, okay, let's just check this out. And lo and behold, like the first thing that came up was the Tim Johannan review from like 1986, and he just literally says, and it's so funny because it's so wrong now, but at the time it probably seemed so correct for him to say this. He's like, above average speed metal. Like this is not a speed metal record at all. But he's like, but it's like lots of power, imagination, and really nice. And it's like he said, it's a really like good record. He liked it, which I thought was also weird, but of course, it's a great record. I'm talking about Inferno.
Oh yeah, that was a great record. Yeah.
Hibakusha, which is like Japanese, which is like atomic bomb survivors. So
yeah, no, I prefer the first. LP.
Most people, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's a really cool record too.
It's like the era where people they're getting like a little bit better. Their instruments, they're like listening to there's like more metallic riffs. It's like there's some different influences going on in there. The vocalist gets a little bit gruff sometimes, but it's almost like he's singing like Kronos a little bit, like sometimes. But it's funny because it's German. They cannot like let go of the kind of anthemic like beer drinking, quality to it, even though it's like a bit more metally. So it still has all of that in there, and it's just really nice. I love it, man. It's like it's also a little bit psychedelic in spots, and loads of cowbell. If you think like that Raw Power record has a lot of cowbell on it, you ain't heard nothing yet. There's cowbell like all over this record. It's crazy. I was like, again, more cowbell.
So, well, there was a German dude saying they wanted more cowbell. Like,
they had a split with Execute or something, right?
That is hilarious because I was going to have like a bit of a quiz about this pick and my 6th pick, and that is the answer to my quiz question. Amazing.
And the crazy thing about that split was on
split with Execute.
Split.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Well, that's not. The thing is that like it's crazy because I think now like it's like worth money, but like it used to fucking in record stores throughout the 90s, it was a dollar bin staple and shit.
Well, it was like the Execute side was like when they kind of turned a bit more like gothic. And people didn't like it at all, right?
It's definitely not like fucking hardcore Temptation.
No,
like,
it's the blunt sleazy 12-inch.
Yeah, blunt sleazy. which is my favorite title of an Execute record or whatever. but it's it's like blunt sleazy.
That's funny. It kind of this all ties into my next pick. We'll get to that later, but it's a very strange choice I thought for Pusshead to put that record out because both of these bands were like kind of left hardcore behind a little bit, and
I don't know. Like I guess to your point when you talk about like the mid 80s though, it's like there were like people were kind of going like like the crossover shit and like more metal kind of influences creeping up on hardcore, so it's like it that wasn't probably too the Execute side was a little bit like going away from it or whatever, but like kind of still fit in with it, like. And I mean I guess like I see what Tim Johansen would have been saying, and when he said speed metal,
you can listen, you imagine it with like 1986 ears.
Exactly. Well, also too, but like before, like certain phrases got codified, or like even like when people would say speed metal, it was like just trying to think of a way to describe it without like before it turned into like, okay, this is speed metal now, like where people know it now and shit. It's like a different thing or whatever. But
it's funny. To me, it kind of it has more in common with like Norwegian bands, like So Much Hate. Almost, it's like it's got kind of metallic riffs, but it's still very melodic and catchy and punk. It's kind of a bit like that. And Negazione, maybe from Italy too.
Yeah, like the later
Negazione, that kind of era. Yeah. They definitely would have supported the Bad Brains in Europe.
Right. Yeah.
I know. I'm a big fan of this record.
It's a cool record, and when it's also too because it's like people, well, I think just German hardcore and punk in general doesn't, it's like people don't talk about like Upright Citizens, who were fucking great, in Inferno, and like I mean there were a lot of cool bands and stuff. It's just
I was going to bring up like Motek and Boskop.
Boskop, like
last time I was on, I did the Harnroar 7-inch.
Yes,
like it's like people don't really because it's not like a trendy like like scene to like jock like certain other scenes or whatever. So it's like people don't really talk about it that way, but it's great shit, It
is. It's great. It's funny that like even though it was speed metal, like Tim Johansen like still thought it was a great record.
Right, exactly. He didn't like this is terrible speed metal.
Right. He liked it, so that says something. I guess.
Right.
The review didn't just say this is speed metal and
avoid clarifier on it. Not punk.
Right.
All right. Matthias, what's your thought?
All right. Well, let's stay roughly the same era and start off with also a Maximum Rock and Roll review from probably in their first 30 or so issues. Jeff Bale. The review of this record is an apology for bashing this band's track on the Primitive Air Raid comp. So he reviewed this album basically saying, "Hey, sorry I tore you up over the lyrics to your song. I didn't realize they were satirical. The lesson to be learned here is if you don't do satire well, people will misinterpret it."
It's still your fault. Right.
Yeah. So I think it's the lead track on Primitive Air Raid. It's the song is also on this album, but it's the first asexual.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
So pre Doughboys, of course.
Yeah.
Kastner rocking this one. This record in Contemporary World were like high school staples for me and my crew. We fucking loved these records. We skated to them all the time, and like, yeah. So I mean, these two records I can go back to all the time, along with the first Doughboys record. I think all three of those records are just stellar '80s like hardcore
Beautiful.
melodic records. Yeah. I think this was originally released on another label, but then Psych Industry reissued it like the year later, and then they also did Primitive Air Raid and they did Contemporary World, and from then on. And after that, I have no idea what the Asexuals did after that. But yeah, this record's great. The song Contra Rebel is the one that he was basically saying,
Right.
"Man, you know what the fuck's going on in Nicaragua? How dare you?" You know, and they were like, "Dude, it was satirical." You know.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But yeah, the energy like of these records, maybe even some of like the early Aggression records, like to me they were like, the minute this is on, it's like fucking find a half pipe like right now, like
Right.
half pipe, you know, like that's what this record brings back to me, is just like hanging out in parking lots and, you know, doing the two fucking skateboard tricks we knew at the time. But you know, like I want to say, and I don't know if this is true or not. I saw one of the very, very, very first Doughboy shows, maybe the first Doughboy show at the University of Windsor. The sold out Otto and I forget, Trent. Otto and Trent did the show up there, and it was Slapshot. Yeah, the Whatever album I think is just as good as these two. So. But yeah, great record. Probably I think this was reissued a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I did. I don't remember like basically since seeing like the the old copies of it or whatever. I don't remember it being I'm sure everything's been good,
Yeah, there's a label. They're called like Return to Analog or something like that.
Okay.
And
yeah, they put it out the Genetic Control, right? Like they did like an LP.
Yeah, they've done a few things. Like seemed like mostly Canadian stuff, and I think that this came out.
They did that. Yeah, right.
The last couple of years, but I haven't seen the reissue. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love this record. It's so high school to me, and this record. It's this record, Code of Honor, Sick Pleasure Split, and Conflict, The Ungovernable Force were like the three records we had on one tape that we just kept flipping.
That's funny. I think it was like last year or the year before. So at Disc Union in Osaka, there's like boxes outside, like 100 yen bins. Yeah. And usually what's in there is like what you would expect to be like in 100 yen bins, And but I always like make a point of like going in there and like having a quick look, and then one day I found that I found that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
like, which I don't know why it was in there. It was in like pretty good condition. It should not have been in there, but it was, and I got it for 100 yen, and I was like super excited, and of course that made me go back even more just in case like something else equally as great showed up in those bins, But it was it was exactly that same like second pressing that you just showed there. Why was it in there? It doesn't make any sense to me that a record like that. I mean, it's not like a super rare record, but
no, but
it's not a dollar bin record.
Yeah, right.
Any stretch of the imagination. So, but I was happy as hell.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
that's cool.
Yeah,
classic.
Yeah, that record just takes me back. Reminds me of those years of discovery, like where you just didn't know what you were buying until you got home and put the like when I went home and put the needle on Unity Blood Days. I then opened the window by my second floor bedroom and threw it out into my yard like a sun worker. Oh shit, I really did that. Because, you didn't know. Like, you bought Field Day, you took it home, you didn't know what you were into until you put the needle on it. Like it might, the records like that might take 15
You could
years.
look on the back cover of Blood Days and be like, okay, maybe it's gonna sound like this or whatever, because that was like it's like them fucking sitting with their shirts open with like long hair and shit, and like beers on top of the fucking surfboard or whatever.
Yeah. And like I remember being like in, I don't know, mid Michigan somewhere, and I bought Sam Hain, Unholy Passion. I bought the first Cro-Mags album, and I bought DRI Crossover all in the same day.
Classics.
Yeah. I went home and I thought the only one I liked was Sam Hain. I'm like, this fucking Cro-Mags record is too metal. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, fuck this shit.
Right.
I mean, I love that record a couple years later, but I
thought Edge of Quarrel was too metal?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's so funny, right? Because like
it is, yeah. I mean, it's not as metal as like Best Wishes and shit, but it's like, but yeah, I don't know.
It's just funny for me because like as someone who was into metal before they got into punk and hardcore, when I started seeing records like being described as like metal, I was like, no, this is not. This is not like a, Tank or Iron Maiden or it's different. Like this isn't. It's like it's funny. It's like
on Crush the Demoniac, which is not on Age of Quarrel, but on Best Wishes, it's only ripped off Iron Maiden. But it's like it's Ace
I was pretty staunch no fucking guitar solo rule until like 1991 maybe. Like, I couldn't handle the guitar solo. It just felt like fucking masturbation to me. I could not do it.
I think the thing is that like, so it's like I liked metal and then I got into hardcore, and I think it was kind of like, like guitar solos and shit like that. It's like it felt like, oh well, this is too metal or whatever, so it's like it needs to be kind of like even more raw. But then there would be shit that like Feel the Darkness came out or whatever, and it's like holy shit, like that's pretty rock and roll metal or whatever, but it's like it still rocks. It's like I don't know, but I hear what you're saying though. You have to embrace it, metal.
Yes.
So. I eventually did. I was a late adopter.
Yeah,
I get it. All right. Ebro, what's your fourth pick?
Hold on. All right. Okay, I'm gonna go. So speaking of Spanish punk, I'm gonna go with it. This is the Toreros After Olé 12-inch, which was. It came out in 1983, and they were a band from Madrid, and it's a fucking amazing hardcore record. And it's like the guitarist later on played flamenco and rumba, and like he won like a Goya, which is like a like an Oscar, a Spanish Oscar or whatever, for a song for a soundtrack and shit. And he has like a career as like he's known as like a flamenco, like rumba, artist or whatever. But in like on this record, there is that kind of same like it's fast, but it's like there's a lot of like rhythm, like it's very rhythmic, and like the drums are very like, and it's like it's recorded really well too, so it sounds like it's a great fucking record. So you should check it out, Mike, if you haven't heard
I've
it.
never even seen that or heard of it before. What's the name of the band again?
It's called Toreros After Olé. So torero, like a bullfighter. It's like like he got stabbed with with the fucking picador or whatever.
That's a great. I would definitely buy that. Like if I saw that in the store, just like it's.
So and actually last year. So
when you said it came out 1983, I was surprised. It seemed like that cover. It looks like something that's super recent.
Yeah, well, this is from '83. So it just turned 40 last year, and then they did like a 40th anniversary reissue of it. So you might be able to find it. Like they might have it at stores.
Is that like a Munster or Beat
No,
Generation?
it's on Nuevos Medios, which is their own label. So it's I saw it when I was in Spain last year. I saw it at Fnac, which is like a big department store or whatever. So it's like you probably should be able to get it, I would think, and it's good like to check it out. Like you hopefully be able to find it. I don't know. It's a fucking great record though. Like it's I would say it's not like super obscure, but it's like I also talk about it and no one knows what I'm talking about. So it's kind of like
when I showed that Sudor record, I was like, I'm really not the person to speak about Spanish punk because my knowledge is quite limited.
Yeah, right on. But no, this is a class. Like, and I mean, and so it's him, his brother played drums. They actually did a new wave band before this, so it's like kind of surprising because it's like the new, I forgot what they were called, but they put out like an LP, and like this is like hardcore. I mean, it's like it's catchy and it's like there's, like I said, more of a rhythmic quality to it or whatever, but it's like fast too, and it's like but it's also the songs are just super good, and it's a great record. And I think, like I said, because they reissued it, they did like the 40th anniversary version of it. You should be able to fucking check it out. Like you should be able to find it, hopefully. Nice. But no, it's a really cool record, and I always love the cover art too. It's like it
looks amazing. Yeah, it's like it's super like fuck. You're intrigued as soon as you see it.
Yeah. Like, so that, and then on so the back, it's got the like the information and shit. It's got
nice.
And so there's this, like, that's all they did. They only did that, and then I don't remember what label, but a label put out like a live record from like they recorded like a radio show in like 84, and so they put that out as like a live record, and that's really good too. And that's it. They didn't really do anything else, and like, because I think like maybe a year or two after this or after that, the live recording, I think he moved to like France or something. He moved away, and then he came back, and then he was playing different music and shit, and just but it's like I said, it's like you can tell it is very, they're very rhythmic. It's very like so it's like it makes sense that he went into playing flamenco and rumba music or whatever. So it's like no, it's a cool record though.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Yeah,
definitely want to check that out.
Right. Yeah. All right, Bill. Second fake German band on
the way. So I have a ticket to see these guys tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yeah, tomorrow night. They're playing the Empty Bottle with Earthless. So it's kind of in that realm. It is a band from your area, Mike. They're from Tokyo, called Minami Deutsch. So that means South Germany in Japanese. I'm probably butchering.
Minami Deutsch, did you say?
Minami Deutsch, yeah.
Yes, South Germany, yes.
Yeah, South Germany, but they're from Tokyo.
I'm from Osaka.
It's a krautrock band, obviously. So
they're from the South German section of Tokyo, though, right?
Tokyo, yeah. They're from Tokyo's little Germany, but the South for sure. Very different from the North. Right. Big culture clash there. This is their first album. It came out in 2014 or 15. This is the most basic one. They have 3 LPs. This is the most straightforward, just like motoric beat stuff. They got a little more spacey and cosmic as it went on. But this is the one that was just kind of hitting me this week. The hype sticker, best suited for driving into tunnels. Which I wish I would have thought of that. I wish I would have thought of that. It's just fucking perfect. So it's 6 songs. It's not all the same pace. There is a little bit of at least tempo differentiation between the songs, but every song does stay that same pace all the way through. It's just super hypnotic. There's not a lot of jamming on it. Like it's mostly, it's almost like if kind of Flipper was a krautrock band where it has the kind of like textured guitar over the super catchy bass line and the motoric beat, except for one song. So the second song on here, again, I'm going to butcher it, Mike, so you're going to have to fix it for me. It's called Futsu ni Ikurenai.
Futsu ni Ikurenai? It's like let's do something normally, or something like that.
I'll take your word for it. That's one of the songs with vocals. There's 6 songs, like half of them have vocals, half are instrumental. But that song, it has kind of breathy, like Damo Suzuki style singing on it for the first 4 or 5 minutes. And then out of nowhere, about 5 minutes in, it just breaks and busts in with this Ron Ashton style guitar solo that's like straight out of Now I Want to Be Your Dog. And my cats fucking hate it. Anytime listening to this, you can just see their ears pin immediately back. Like, what the fuck is this? It scared the hell out of me the first time I listened to it too, because it's mixed like 10% louder than the rest of the song. So they did that intentionally. But it's a pretty smooth, not quite easy listening, but repetitious krautrock stuff. You kind of get in the zone, and then all of a sudden you just bust in with this solo that just immediately grabs your attention. And it's just like, oh fuck yeah! Once I knew what was happening. So yeah, this 6 songs: Forever, Takemitsu, Terra Recipe. Gotta move the obi real quick because it does have the obi.
Careful, don't tear it.
Don't tear it.
It's worth so much less now.
Yes.
Uber,
it's already increased in value by you just touching it.
There's a lot of different languages going on in here. Ubergleich, sunrise, sunset. So it's not the sunrise, sunset. It's not that, luckily. Although that would be kind of cool to hear that done as a krautrock thing. Yeah, this is the most straightforward of their 3 LPs. I do like the other 2. Like, I think the second one has a couple of songs that I think are better. Like, my favorite song of theirs is on the second LP, but overall it's not quite as strong, so it's a little more kind of flowery, acoustic-y stuff, whereas this one and the third one, the third one's kind of the better mixture of the 2 styles of the first 2. But I don't have that as an LP. I just have that as files from Bandcamp. Yeah, I'm excited to see him tomorrow. That's not my usual scene. If we have a local krautrock scene here, I don't know much about it.
The only reason I know
Japanese krautrock scene.
yeah.
No,
the only reason I know about that band is because they toured with that band Earthless.
That's what I'm seeing tomorrow.
With Earthless.
With Earthless, yeah.
There you go.
They're
they
doing
toured in Japan. They toured when Earthless came here.
Oh, cool. Okay, so they're
kind of returned. Yes.
Yeah, like Earthless. I'm excited to see Earthless again. I haven't seen Earthless in probably 10 or 12 years. Like, their records have never clicked with me, but I've seen them a handful of times, and they're always fun to watch live. It's just nothing I want to listen to like at home, But when you're in the right frame of mind and that stuff hits you, it's like, all right, this is perfect. So I'm curious how it's going to be when I actually pay to see Earthless, as opposed to like watching whoever they're on tour with or whoever is headlining the night. And again, I don't really know much about, like, I have some of the records and stuff, but I'm still, krautrock is one of those things that really just started clicking with me the last maybe 3 or 4 years. So I don't really know a whole lot about it. Like, I know the classics, I know a handful of new bands. But I'm super excited to see them tomorrow.
I have a feeling that band might kind of like blow up a little bit, like a Boris.
They seem it. Like they're playing. They're touring down to that Austin Psych Fest, so that's why they're coming. I was looking to see they did come to America in like 2019. I saw. I guess they played Talia Hall, but I didn't know who they were in 2019.
Right.
That's another venue in Chicago. Same people that run the Empty Bottle, but they're doing 2 nights. They're actually playing now, probably. It's 11:15, so Earthless is probably starting in about 10 minutes. I'm excited to go, even though it's another one of those goddamn 10 p.m. band start nights. It's just
welcome to the Empty Bottle. We could start it at a normal time, but we're gonna start it like fucking midnight or something.
Yeah, first band at 10 p.m. Well, that's last Friday, that Marked Men show. Three band show, first band 10 p.m. Like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah,
can't do any better than that. I know it's a Friday, but still. I'm definitely past the age of like, 10 p.m., whatever.
Yeah, you're a young boy.
Right. I'm telling you, Mike. You're keeping me young by telling me that so confidently.
But I
Yeah,
think
I'm very excited.
you're at the age where that starts to be a pain in the ass to have everything.
And I work from home, for God's sake, and I don't even like being out that late on it. Like, it just I roll out of bed at 7:50 to start work at 8 a.m. and I still don't like being out until 1 a.m. on a Tuesday or whatever. But I'm excited about the show tomorrow.
Let's know how it
weird.
is. How it was.
I'm not going to know a single person there except my partner that I'm going with. She graciously agreed to come with me.
Make some new friends. Right?
Yeah. It should be a good time. If you're into just kind of krautrock at all, run with it. Like, it's really cool. It's cool, really cool textured guitars, catchy as hell bass riffs. Like, it really does. It doesn't sound like Flipper at all, but it does have that kind of feel to it, like where Flipper was more about the background noise with the guitar, and the bass kind of drove it. It's that kind of stuff, at least on this record.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about tomorrow. So yeah, that's my pick. That's my second fake.
Thing. All right, I'm gonna go back to, like, man, I get excited talking about stuff. It's like the time in my life where I kind of started to discover, like, Japanese hardcore, and like what an amazing time it was, because there were so many bands, and some of them were like kind of easy to kind of understand, and some of them were just like, I've not heard anything like this before in my life. Like, you know, there's some bands, okay, they like Chaos UK, you know, or they like Discharge, but then there's like a whole bunch of other bands that were like, I cannot hear anything that's like, you know, that I know or recognize in this punk music. Where did this band come from, kind of thing. So anyway, let me get to my pick. So I guess like most people outside of Japan would have heard this band like first on the Farewell to Arms comp. This is like the original Japanese one. It got released in Germany on Nuclear Blast with like the green different cover.
That was one of the first.
Right. For me too. It was like
that I got to hear. Like,
it was definitely one of the first Japanese records that I actually could buy, you know, like back then, you know. So you've got like Gauze, Ghoul, and the Execute. This compilation is really different from Thrash Till Death. Thrash Till Death is like pretty straight ahead, right? This is a little bit different. It's got the Execute and the Ghoul.
And Ghoul is like
Ghoul, who are like at their most metal on this record. And then you got Lip Cream, Uto, and then this is the band I'm going to talk about, which is Gastunk. This is one of those bands that just completely, I couldn't understand this band at all when I first heard them. Like, what have these guys been listening to? Is it punk? Is it heavy metal? It's both kind of mixed together, really, I suppose. But it's like, absolutely, I'm still kind of a little bit obsessed with them. It's a real, like, kind of like, there's a mystique to this band. I think it's really attractive. And I guess people might have heard them on this too, right? Like, this is the first album that kind of got released.
Well, because Pussborn
put it out, right? Well, this is like, it came out in Japan, like, first with a different cover. This is like the original, like, Japanese one, and then this is like the Pusshead. This one sounds way better, like, and it has like a bit of a different like sequencing. It's weird. I don't know what happened, but but this record is not very. It's not that great. It's like it's not that great. And I'm again going back to what I was saying about the Inferno Execute thing. I don't really know why. Like, this was a gamble, I want to say, for like Pussborn at the time.
I mean, because it's like I remember like that was kind of the first. Well, you know, that comp,
on this, right?
Like the first, like, you know, because that was the first record by them I was able to really hear and stuff.
Right.
And so it was just like I didn't get it. I'm just like,
I don't even still really like this record too much even now. But this is not my pick. You know, I'm going to get to my pick. My pick is the first album, right?
I had that one.
That's a good.
This is the one that like completely like still when I play it, I kind of get transported to a world that I've never been to. It's just got this weird, like, ethereal, like, mysterious, like, vibe to it. Like, the first song is like super slow, and it takes a kind of a lot, and then this next song kind of speeds up a little bit, and then the third song's like bang. It's like they go like full speed ahead, but it's like, okay, this doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard before. It doesn't sound like any punk band I've ever heard, any hardcore band. But it is hardcore, but it's super metal. Too. But it's really its own thing that I don't think anybody else has ever kind of replicated.
I can't say like, like people aren't trying to sound like Gastunk, you know, like now, or I can't think of bands that, you know, and then also too, like they look super glam and stuff.
I mean, I've always loved like this illustration, you know, like it's amazing. You know, I don't know, man. And it says like "Don't fuck with me" with the skull with the wings on it and stuff. And, like, I mean, it's like 1985, but it feels older than that to me. It kind of just feels like 81 or something. I don't know. It's like, it's beautiful. And like the thing that I kind of pinned down, like why it sounds different. It's because of the vocal melodies. It's because they come from like traditional Japanese music, like enka and stuff. Okay. And so there aren't those melodies in like Western music. They don't exist. So that's why it sounds like so unique. I would say.
Right on. Yeah. I can see that.
I know. I'm still
never heard that one because I had that other one and I sold it and I didn't like it. So
exactly right.
Well, no, this is the one that you should have checked out.
This is the one and the first single. As well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the one
actually the early singles. But like this is to me, it's a kind of classic. It's like a top 10 like Japanese hardcore record for me. But it's very metal. Like this is actually very like metal record. You know, like Randy Uchida from Gizm always gets like lots of props for his like you know, Randy Rhodes, like it's Randy Rhodes, right? It's like that's what it's about. This guy Tatsu is kind of similar. Like he's a shredder. Was definitely into like Randy Rhodes and stuff like that. But like Gastunk, Dead Song. I know it's a classic. Just before we go, I know like we don't like this one. We don't like this one so much, but there's a later one which I think is better than this one. And that's
I didn't even realize there was. Oh yeah, no, I have seen that one actually. Yeah,
this is actually better than this. It's like the songs are better, like the production's better. And it's got a better thanks list on it. It says thanks to Ron from Final Conflict. And Kirk and James Hetfield from Metallica and Dom Dokken.
Right on.
Well, they were.
It's like the best thanks list of all time.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I like on that one. It looks like the baby's playing a saxophone.
It's great, man.
It's not the baby.
I think people like probably like outside of Japan are like given up on them by this point, right? But they were huge in Japan. They were playing like stadiums. They were like not ex-Japan kind of level, but getting there. They were getting to that kind of level of. I mean, their fan base was schoolgirls at this point.
Yeah, right on. It's, but I think
I'm being seriously, like Cobra too, like the Oi band Cobra. Also, their fan base was basically schoolgirls by like, yes.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I
think the thing was that here. You don't, you know, it's like, right. The LP on Pussmore was the one that was easy to get, and so people are just hearing that. And they're just like,
I mean, I was disappointed by it too, and I was like a huge Japanese hardcore fan.
Right.
So, I mean, this isn't very good. Why is Pussmore releasing this of all things? You know, they could have released.
I think it might have just been like. I liked what they did before, and
maybe
let me put out your next one.
I'm going to put out your next record, and then he got that kind of thing in there.
Bad, but, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it's just like that's the.
But I think like the guys in Metallica were big fans, and of course Pushead was fans of Metallica. I think this is Lars Ulrich's fault that this came out. Let's blame it on him. I don't.
Yeah, like everyone loves to blame Lars. So
it's funny, but they don't thank him. They only thank the other guy. They don't thank him.
Lars might have never worn the T-shirt.
Well, yeah, I remember.
Right, they used to wear the T-shirt, right, with the Gastunk. Yeah. Right, that's my last pick. I love this era of Japanese hardcore. It's still like very dear to me. It means a lot to me. But that Pussmore record was a bit of a misstep, I want to say.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like, you know, I think that's the thing. Like that's why people don't fully understand because they didn't hear like the earlier records and stuff.
Right,
and so it's like when you hear that, it's like, oh, okay, I get why people like them. You know, it's like it was like or why this was cool. But I mean, you know, like at that time too, it was so hard to get your hands on like any.
Yeah, you were thankful. Wow, there's a Japanese punk record and it's like only like $5 or whatever, you know, like.
Right. So yeah, it is weird though that that was what he decided to put out. But,
right. Yeah. Oh, and my Matthias already did it, but like that was the link in was because Baki, the singer of Gastunk, Used to be the singer of the Execute.
Execute, right?
Who did the split? Who did the split with Inferno? That was it was unintentional, but I kind of realized
it's all rich tapestry.
It's a rich tapestry.
A lot of connections going on tonight between the picks.
Yeah, it's all connected. All right, Matthias, what's your last pick?
My final pick. I'm kind of shocked that this band's never appeared in the 350 selections, just because they're I think everybody kind of loves them. They've had critical success. They're also extremely fucking weird and underground. Last time I was on, I was talking about the Sparks a little bit and how like they were one of the first bands that really got me to start liking music. This band maybe even more so than the Sparks. And this is a little bit of a cheat because it's 2 records, it's 2 volumes across 3 LPs, but it's the Hardcore Devo. Yeah. This is all stuff from like the mid 70s, like 74 to 78, mostly 4-track recordings done by Jerry Castle. A lot of songs you're familiar with in a later like studio recorded version, but also a lot of just weird fucking stuff. To me, there are certain things that have occurred throughout history, like in the cultural pop sort of world, that I am just like at a loss to explain. And bands like Devo are it. Like where Devo came from is like, I'm sure they've tried to tell the story. I almost don't even want to know it because it's just such a strange place to land in the 70s and early 80s. But it's the kind of thing that if I had a time machine, I'm not killing Hitler or doing it. I'm going back to watch early Devo, or maybe to the theater the night the
with Hitler.
The night the Extras premiered, or go back and see someone's parents accidentally see United Mutation or something like that. Right? like that's the kind of stuff I fucking love. And like Devo's like, this is before the Nerds had won, and what they were doing at the time was just like incomprehensible, I think, to most people. The fact that they went on to later have commercial success is pretty mind blowing if you think about it.
Right.
But I'm a huge fan of Devo. I just bought tickets to see their last go around.
You're going to that show too.
Gotta do that. I missed it last time. Regretted it. So I mean, this, if I'm talking about Asexuals being my high school band, this is my junior high school band right here. And really the band that was like, oh, you're a fucking weirdo, this is your music, it's not Van Halen, it's Devo, get into it. And it really helped me discover who I was, like in junior high. And eventually all of this stuff leads to punk or hardcore if you're if you're really hungry for music that's weird and underground. So I was shocked that there was no Devo in the list anywhere. So I had something else to pick.
Anywhere? Not even the regular studio albums?
I feel like
couldn't find it. I couldn't find any on the list. So I had to do the Akron Boys justice there. So
nice.
Excellent band.
Volume 2 is like essential, right? If you've got Volume 1, you need Volume 2, right?
Yeah, well, Volume 2 is the double LP, and it's just got the deeper cuts on it for sure.
Okay.
So Volume 1 is more like it's gonna have Social Fools and Sue Balls, and it's got the Satisfaction and Jocko Homo.
Right.
But this song, the 2 on here, there's a lot of songs that are more like in hardcore Devo or the Greatest Misses kind of stuff. So baby talking bitches, talk democracy. There's so many good songs. Be Stiff is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. Be Stiff and Penetration of the Centerfold, I think, are 2 of Devo's like greatest songs they ever wrote. I just fucking love them. Yeah.
Do you have the live LP that they did in like 2014 or something when they were doing the Hardcore Devo tour?
Was that a Record Store Day release or no? Was that?
I'm not sure.
I might have.
I picked it up.
I have so many fucking Devo albums.
It still sounds awesome.
That box set they just did with like the almost Run the Jewels looking cover. Um,
Oh yeah, I couldn't pull the trigger on that. That was too expensive.
I had to. I have way too many.
Had to.
I bought the Recombo DNA box set a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
Recombo DNA is fucking incredible. That
It's
yeah,
even quicker
like
than-
my Devo. I have way too many Devo records. I probably have like the same song 50 fucking times on vinyl, but you know, whatever. What are you gonna do? Same thing with like the Misfits. You know, like I'm gonna just keep buying Misfits.
It's one of the bands where it's totally worth it too. Like there's enough of a progression over the years, even if it is the same song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is an incredible document, or I don't know if it's a documentary, but there's a little like interview thing on, I think it's on YouTube, where they actually meet up with Chichi Rodriguez, the golfer, where they stole the, you know, We Are Not Men kind of logo off of his, like he was selling something, I don't know what it was, but like they actually get, I don't know if it's, I can't remember if it's Jerry or who, but like they get him together with Chichi Rodriguez, and it's the first time they've ever met. It's kind of funny, but yeah.
That one day at the office, or the office I was working in, they had TVs kind of up on the columns, and they had it put to the golf channel because I was in like the sales area, and that was airing on the golf channel. So I'm walking through trying to help someone with their computer. I see Jerry Casale up on the TV. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I was so confused.
It was.
I really wanted to stop and just watch and like try to find someone to turn the sound on, but it was just, you know, middle of an open floor plan office. No one had remotes to turn the sound on. But it's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I forgot that is actually produced by the Golf Channel. Like, yeah, it's on YouTube. You can find it. It's really totally weird. It's such a weird connection of like 80s, 70s, 80s things. Like, so bizarre. But yeah, Devo, fucking Devo to death, man. Always
one of the
best.
greatest. Super excited for that show. I haven't seen him in 10, 11 years. Last time I saw him was 2012, I think. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been ages.
All right, Ebro, what's your last pick?
Hold on a second.
Is it the Live at CBGB's 2006 album?
Yeah, I think it's a new version of Live at CBGBs.
Revisited.
It's right, exactly. It's a new Live at CBGBs. I'm gonna go with another Spanish punk record, No Te Muevas. It's a fucking classic. It's a Basque punk, Spanish punk. Super anthemic fucking punk, you know. It's like, I don't know how else to describe it or whatever. It came out in '87. It basically is like all the songs are pretty much sing along, you know, even if you don't know Spanish or whatever. It's like you can pick up on the choruses pretty easy and shit. And yeah, it's just a fucking classic record. So it's like, you know, like they were from like a small town in the Basque Country, and you know, pretty much played throughout. I want to say, I think they played, like they were around for a while, and then the singer passed away. But it's a fucking great record. I don't know if you've gotten to hear that yet, Mike.
Yes, I've got it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I need the split record, the split with.
Oh, that's Robuto. Yeah, that's great too. Though, you know, it's like, yeah, but this is like, you know, it's recorded well, and it's not like super raw, but it's like, it's just a fucking catchy punk record or whatever. It's really good.
There's definitely like a lineage between that and like Sudor and stuff, right? It's like
well, no, I mean, well, so like it's pretty much, you know, was always considered like kind of a classic record and shit, even like, you know, when I was younger and stuff, like it kind of always was, you know, people knew that, and they, you know, a lot of people go see the band and stuff, and it was, you know, and like them and Escorbuto were kind of like the two, you know, like from the Basque Country, the two kind of bigger bands or whatever, that, you know, and then Cortatu, who were more ska or whatever, and like, you know, I mean, but that was like, you know, like a known record, you know, and I would say like the lineage is that like I would think most bands or whatever in Spain know the LP.
Big influence.
Know that, and it's just like, know the songs or whatever. It's pretty, you know, like there's been like there was a band from Cuba that you know, this woman I knew, she was doing like a play about in Cuba. There's there was a group of kind of punks that to be able to kind of get out of you know, it's like in Cuba that like didn't have much like support and obviously because of the dictatorship and everything going on. So in order to get better treatment, they injected themselves with HIV and were able to live in better conditions or whatever, like because the state, you know, like they would have kind of living that they could stay there. But there was a band that was part of it, and those were called Los Freakies. There's a movie actually that's coming out too that's about that. But there was a band that was part of it that, you know, did songs, and they did Enamorado de la Muerte, like one of the R.I.P songs and stuff. So it's like, you know, like people know these songs.
Right.
So it's but it's a classic record. So
yeah. That's weird. We had like the Spanish punk kind of lined up there.
No, I was just like, I'd been listening to it, so I'm just like, I had other things too I could have picked, but I'm just like, you know, fuck it. I'll talk,
That was an audible.
I'll talk about a couple old Spanish records or what. I mean, 80 stuff. So, you know, but I mean, yeah, it's like when I was younger and like go see family in the Basque Country and shit, like I would see, like Escorbuto especially, like you would go to fucking like gas stations and they'd be selling Escorbuto tape and stuff. Like, you know, it's like you could get that. Like they were known, you know, and La Polla Records too was another band that was, they were kind of like even bigger, like La Polla Records, Escorbuto, R.I.P not as much, but it's like they were, you know, also known though. So it's just, yeah, those were kind of like, you know, the known bands or whatever.
Right. Classic record. Yeah. The third fake German record to finish up. No,
I mean there is a German guy in the band.
Okay.
Yeah. A fake German guy or
oh no, it could be either one. Depends on, you know, is it where you're born or where you live? I don't know. Could be.
or if you feel German or not.
So my last pick, initially, this is kind of a game day swap on my side. It's my third time on. I'm kind of surprised myself. I haven't picked one from these guys yet, but it's a Ramones bootleg. My favorite band of all time. I'm obsessed with them, so I go for different live bootlegs all the time. It is Halfway to Amsterdam. It's an FM radio broadcast from 1986, so it's the Ritchie era, which I love. I have particular affinity for the Ritchie era, especially for Animal Boy.
That's
and on the Animal Boy tour, which makes the title Halfway to Amsterdam very funny to me because they don't play anything from Halfway to Sanity because they hadn't written those songs yet. And so it's a 1986 FM broadcast. The picture on the front is very obviously from about 1979. Joey did not look like that by 1986. But on the back, it has the shadows of the Ritchie lineup. You can see Ritchie over there. And we got Dee. We got our German guy. So if you know the Dee King album, the Dee King classic, he is the German kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's 3 songs from Animal Boy that are on here. It's got Love Kills, it's got Crummy Stuff, and it's got the title track. So that's worth it for me, just having Crummy Stuff and Love Kills on there. Like I know Animal Boy was on Loco Live, like they kept that in the set list for a while. But Crummy Stuff they didn't, Love Kills they didn't for a while. And the first track on here, it's just listed as interview, but it's not an interview. It's just a cut up edit of Joey doing a lot of awkward, you know, so then we did this, you know, yeah, you know, it's like 2.5 minutes of just Joey doing that. And it gets me every single time. It's so fucking funny. It's so awkward. And then it says interview part 2 as the last track, but then there isn't another interview track. I was hoping it was going to be something similar for Dee or Johnny, but no, it's, so they tease you with second interview cut up, but it sounds fantastic. Like they were playing the songs a little bit faster than on the record, but it's with Richie drumming, so it's just that slight bit faster, but it's still super precise.
I think they always played faster live.
Yeah, it rules. It's like, this is Animal Boy is my favorite out of the first 4 albums. It's just I love this stuff, but like it's not all the songs from the set. So like if you look up online, there are other bootlegs with this show. It was recorded in Amsterdam, so like it was a full FM broadcast. So like there are other tracks on here. Like I've got MP3s of the set, and they also play Freak of Nature, which War Effort covers now because we needed to freshen up the set. So started doing a Ramones cover in the middle of the set. That's not on this, unfortunately. But like, yeah, it's all the usual stuff. Psychotherapy, Blitzkrieg Bop, Rock and Roll High School, and all that shit. But it still has Love Kills, Crummy Stuff, and Animal Boy. So that alone makes it worth it for me. And it's nice, thick orange. Kind of, it looks more clear than it is on the camera on there. But yeah, I always try to find, like, I was real excited a couple of years ago for Record Store Day when they did that Ramones LP where it was a set from the End of the Century tour where they were playing, the End of the Century songs that didn't stay in the set, and I hope they were going to keep doing that. But this year, and like they did the Weird Pleasant Dreams early mix last year, so then that was okay. And then this year they're just reissuing some demos from 1975, which have a different bootleg on it. I'll probably still buy it just to get a cleaner copy of it. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised myself that my third time on is when I finally pick a Ramones record. But yeah, I was going to talk about the new Ride album, which I like, but then I realized I didn't have much to say about it. Like, oh, okay. Like, I just don't have the vocabulary.
I like it too, actually.
Yeah, like there's a couple of really good songs on it, and then it drags in the middle, and then it like shoots back up at the end. But like that's literally all I can say about it. Like it's definitely
it's poppier than
it's a lot poppier.
Like the last kind of couple records and like the first couple records, obviously. But I was listening to it and I was digging it more than like initially. I think I've like with all these bands, it's kind of when they do something new, anytime it kind of deviates a little bit from what they were doing, like, oh, I don't know. And then, but the more I listened to it, I started digging more.
The more it hits on you. Yeah, so that was going to be my pick up until like maybe 2 hours
and
ago.
It almost is now.
Oh, yeah. What about DRI 4 of a Kind?
Yeah. I do a record purge every year, and this one always gets saved. For some reason.
I still like it.
I actually listened to it for the first time in like 10, 15 years. Like, all right, yeah, it's good.
It's all right. Yeah.
As you can see, it was a $4 purchase in 2006.
Yeah. Now it's like,
so those were my two alternates.
Yeah.
I want to if that was recorded when they were on tour in Europe. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I saw them on that tour in England.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I did. I saw them twice, and I think once was in '86 and once was in '88. So I probably did see that.
Right.
Yeah, you would have. The '86 definitely.
You basically were there. You were like during the recording of 4 of a Kind. Man.
No, the Ramones.
The Ramones.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've never seen DRI. That's weird. I've never.
You've never seen DRI?
No, never. No.
I'm surprised. Like they still fought. Like I saw them last year actually, and it's like it still felt the same. not exactly the same. Like it wasn't as big of a crowd and shit, but it was like they still played all the shit off those albums or whatever. Right. So it's fine.
Yeah. They're one of those bands I do want to see at some point because they come through town. It seems like at least every 2-3 years. So they're not. But
that show that they played with Repulsion were fucking amazing. They were so fucking good, and DRI were good too. But I've also seen DRI enough, and it was late, and my back hurt, and I was just like, all right, I watched most of it, but I'm just like, I gotta fucking take off.
You got enough in, but
yeah, it was on a Sunday or a Monday too, and I'm just like, I gotta work tomorrow.
That fest or something like that, Metal Fest.
What's that? Yeah, it was that fest that last Sean Duffy who did Last Rites, who he basically did most of the shows in Chicago for like since the early 80s, like through the 90s or whatever. And he used to do a fanzine and stuff, but like he started booking shows again. And so we did like there was a fest with like one night was DRI and Repulsion and Macabre, and then one night was like
Macabre. They're from Macabre from Chicago.
Yeah,
right?
they're from like from Downers Grove, the suburbs or whatever. But they are from here. And Macabre, like
that's an interesting band. Yeah, they
are interesting. It's interesting now to see them. It's like because it's like the dude. Like he has like a fucking like
he wears the Janet Jackson mic.
Yeah, like right. It's like and like it's like it gets kind of hard to see. You know, I still like seeing them or whatever, and I like the first couple records and shit, but it's like it can kind of be a bit much sometimes. But they're still doing it. And then there was another what was the other? Like there was a show with I want to say it was like COC and like in maybe
was it like Doom bands.
What's that? Yeah,
was it like Doomy bands.
Yeah. So it's like there was a couple, but that was the night because I wanted to see Repulsion. So Repulsion were fucking great. You know, it was really cool. But
yeah, I should have gone to that. I don't know why I didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we finish up?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked yet. This could be the longest episode so far.
It might be.
Yeah, right on. Is it dragging that much? Okay.
Definitely top 3, if not top 1.
Right.
Great stuff. Let me just introduce next week's show before we head off. Who's on next week? Oh, Hazel's on. Hazel just got hit by a car. She's having surgery and stuff. I think she's going to be okay though. Dennis Brents and Matt Barr is back. It's a Columbus, Ohio show.
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. It was an epic journey. We made it.
Yeah,
we made it to the end. Wow. Have we? After the cameras stop rolling.
Yeah, it's going to keep on going.
Well, I was going to show this one and didn't have time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Until next time. Next time. Oh, it's April 19th.
Buy a shirt.
Buy a shirt.
Buy it.
Buy a shirt. Let's bring it up one more time, just in case anybody.
Yeah.
Analog Marathon.
Yes.
Smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, it's going offline on Sunday, so it's your last chance to look good this summer. But Analog Attack t-shirt. All right, until next time, stay healthy.
Cheers, everybody.
Stay
clean.